Welcome to the sand, brother!
From exile rose the god of the desert.
Hello everyone, welcome to What If Naruto Became the Demon God of the Sand Village movie. Before we start, please go support Oza 137,788 for writing that awesome fanfic. This is the translated version I made. There will be some mistaken characters' gender, but of course Naruto is a male. Naruto and his friends defeat Akatsuki and return to Konoha with Sasuke. The true leader of Akatsuki appears and breaks the seal on the blonde. Naruto must flee the village to save his life. Chapter 1. A New Adventure. Chapter 1. Broken Seal. A few weeks have passed since Naruto and his companions finally defeated the fearsome Akatsuki organization. After a fearsome and hard battle, Sasuke finally managed to finish off Itachi and thus fulfill the objective he had set for himself and for which he had abandoned everything. All the members of the organization had died, except for their true leader, as Pain made clear before dying. After the great battle, Sasuke's teammates each went their own way to rebuild their lives. The Uchiha, having already fulfilled his objective, decided to return to Konoha with his old friends. Once in the village and after some council meetings, they decided that the owner of the Sharigan would rejoin his old team, to which his companions willingly accepted. The 7 Biju that Akatsuki had captured escaped and roamed free in the world. Only the 8th Biju was missing, whose whereabouts were unknown. Everything in the village from that moment on was calm, and everything went back to how it was before with some differences. After having eliminated his brother, the last of the Uchiha clan was left in a state of deep depression, since now he had nothing to live for, and that worried his friends, especially his teammate Sakura, who tried to spend as much time as she could with him. Naruto, having kept his promise, believed he had a chance of starting a relationship with Sakura, but upon seeing her with Sasuke, he decided to do nothing. Time passed relatively calmly in the village, as they now had to find out who the true leader of Akatsuki was. One day Naruto, Sakura, Sasuke and Sai were in a special training that Yamato and Kakashi were giving them. Everything was calm until a big explosion near the Hokage Tower caught everyone's attention. Quickly all the ninjas of the village went to the place. "What's going on?" Naruto said upon arriving. Once there they saw a squad of Ambus very badly wounded and others surrounding Tsunade and Shizune, protecting them from a mysterious subject covered with a black robe that did not allow to see anything apart from his boots. Quickly Naruto, Sasuke, Sai, Sakura, Ino, Choji, Shikamaru, Hinata, Kiba, Shino, Niji, Lee, Tenten, Kakashi, Guy and Yamato, and several Ambus placed themselves in front of the mysterious attacker to prevent him from harming the Hokage. The invader made a series of seals and created a huge explosion that sent them all into the air. Everyone began to attack him, but this guy had such incredible speed and strength that he defeated them all with great speed. Naruto tried to attack him with the Rasengan, but he stopped it with one hand and kicked Naruto so hard that he threw him against a house, hitting a wall and leaving a large mark. The blonde began to wake up and his attacker was in front of him and he stared at him for a few seconds. The hooded man closed his fist, concentrating a large amount of chakra, and when he was about to launch his attack, he jumped just in time to dodge Sasuke's Chidori and one more in the air from Kakashi that he could barely dodge, and that broke his robe, revealing the Akatsuki uniform. "Who are you?" Kakashi said as he prepared another Chidori. "I'm Kairen and I'm the leader of Akatsuki. I came for the Kyuubi boy, so hand him over and I won't kill you all," Kairen said very seriously and with a rather contemptuous tone of voice. He had purple hair and one of the strands of his hair covered half of his face, where one of his eyes was seen which was purple. He was more or less the same age as Kakashi and Guy, but his great strength was noticeable due to his physique. "We're not going to hand you over to anyone, get out of here," Yamato said as he prepared one of his wooden attacks. "If you wish," said Kairen, making some seals and creating a large number of clones. The clones attacked all the ninjas, while the original attacked Naruto. He tried to defend himself, but his opponent was too strong and defeated him. The blonde was unconscious on the ground, while the criminal stood on top of him and prepared some seals. Hinata approached them as fast as she could, but could only see how the subject crashed his hand against her beloved's stomach. He woke up with a loud scream while lightning came out of him. "Naruto-kun," Hinata said, seeing the suffering on the boy's face. The villagers, despite the danger, went to the place and saw the demon boy screaming in pain, while the other subject was still on top of him. Little by little, the Kyuubi seal faded and the fox chakra began to flow through the young man's body. The criminal walked away from Naruto and pulled out a bottle with inscriptions on its sides. A small tentacle animal destroyed it, and the purple hair looked at Sai furiously. "Damn brat," Kairen said, ready to finish off the ninja, but at that moment, an overwhelming and incalculable amount of chakra began to flow out of the blonde's body. Everyone stood expectantly watching what was happening. The chakra was coming out in monumental quantities and began to unite in the sky. At a surprising speed it was taking shape until it took the figure of a fox with 8 tails out and a last one that was still attached to the boy. The fox looked at the girl and after a terrifying minute for everyone, he entered the boy's body again. He was still unconscious and the fight that had started before had stopped and all the participants only looked at the young man. Hinata couldn't stand it anymore and approached him, knelt in front of him and tried to wake him up. "Naruto-kun. Please wake up. Please wake up," said Hinata as some tears fell from her eyes onto the boy's face, who showed no signs of life. Inside the young man's mind he found himself in a dark place and could not see anything around him. At that moment a tide of flames surrounded him from all sides until one of the walls of fire took the shape of a face, more exactly the face of the fox. "Hello boy," said Kyuubi very seriously. "What happened?" Naruto said very confused. "The seal that held me prisoner inside your body is broken," Kyuubi said, approaching the young man. "You want to be free, what are you doing here then?" said Naruto very confused. "If I completely leave your body you will die, I don't think you want to do that," Kyuubi said in a somewhat mocking tone. "What do you care? I thought you wanted to be free. What happens to me matters to you, as long as you don't mind," Naruto said, a little surprised. "Despite everything, I've grown to respect and even love you. You're one of the few humans I've grown to respect and I don't want you to die. So, I'm proposing a win-win deal," Kyuubi said, a little seriously. "A deal?" Naruto said a little confused. "Since my soul is now free, I can no longer remain sealed. Right now, your soul and mine are in your body, and that's impossible. One of us has to leave unless we do something," Kyuubi said very seriously. "What thing?" said Naruto very seriously. "Let your soul and mine unite. If we do that, you won't die and we'll both live on as a new being," Kyuubi said, taking the form of a fox in front of the young man. "If we join, what will happen to us?" Naruto said a little confused. "A new being will be created, a new you with the personalities and character of both of us. I'm not sure how we'll end up, but that's better than letting you die and being captured by that guy," Kyuubi said very seriously. "Okay, let's do it," Naruto said very seriously. Hinata was still trying to wake Naruto up when the Konoha ninjas attacked the criminal again, who was defeating them with overwhelming ease. The fox's chakra began to leave the boy's body, causing everyone to stop to see what was happening, but this time the energy began to surround the young man's body. Neji approached his cousin and pulled her away from the young blonde man who was being surrounded by the red chakra and which ran through his entire body inside and out, giving him unprecedented power. The young man opened his eyes, which were red, and the marks on his cheeks appeared, as well as his fangs and nails lengthened. All the villagers, especially those who knew the truth about Naruto, were very scared. The boy's gaze radiated pure hatred. He saw his attacker and launched a Rasengan at an overwhelming speed. It flew through the air and crashed into the wall of the tower, piercing it and creating a large hole. The blonde was breathing heavily and looked like he was going to faint at any moment. "What's wrong with him?" Sakura said, very scared for her friend. "The seal that kept the fox inside his body has been broken, all of the Kyuubi's power has been released at once, and Naruto's body can't handle it," Kakashi said very seriously. "What can we do?" Sakura said, very nervous. "Nothing," said Kakashi very annoyed. The last member of Akatsuki was badly injured, and just at that moment the fox boy sent him another Rasengan that hit him and killed him. After that the blonde couldn't take it anymore and fainted as Hinata broke free from her cousin's grip and Sakura approached him. Naruto's face still hadn't returned to normal. After a few hours the blonde and several ninjas who were injured in the battle were in the hospital recovering from their wounds. Outside in the hallway Sakura, Sai, Sasuke, Ino, Choji, Shikamaru, Hinata, Kiba, Shino, Neji, Lee, Tenten, Kakashi, Guy and Yamato and Jiraiya had just arrived, were outside the room waiting for Tsunade and Shizune to come out to find out how Naruto was doing. "I don't understand, what was all that happened to Naruto?" Ino said very seriously. "Yes, I know, it was very strange, where did he get all that power from?" Kiba said, very intrigued. The silver-eyed girl didn't think about anything, she just prayed that the young man was okay and that nothing bad had happened to him. The adult ninjas and the blonde's teammates who knew the truth didn't say anything. At that moment the Hokage and his assistant left the room. "She's out of danger," Tsunade said, breathing a sigh of relief. The next day the Konoha council was meeting to decide what they would do with Naruto. Now that the seal holding the Kyuubi was broken, many of them screamed and asked to kill the boy before he woke up. "Let's let the people decide," Hiashi said very seriously. "What?" said Tsunade very surprised. "I don't think it's very convenient for us to keep Naruto's true identity a secret any longer. It's better for the villagers to decide what we should do with him once they know the whole truth," Hiashi said very seriously. The third one forbade talking about that subject, said an old man who was there. I'm afraid it's too late for that. People are talking and forming strange ideas. It's best to tell the truth to avoid trouble, Hiashi said very seriously. I agree, let them decide the Jinchuriki's fate, said an old woman in the room. If that's the council's decision, Tsunade said, very annoyed that they now wanted to kill Naruto after everything he had done. That same afternoon a meeting was organized in the plaza where all the ninjas and villagers of Konoha were to go. Once everyone was gathered, Tsunade began to speak. As you all know, many years ago the Kyuubi attacked our village. The fourth Hokage defeated it, sacrificing his life to achieve it. What was tried to be kept secret was that since the power of this creature was so great, the fourth Hokage sealed it inside the body of a newborn. That child was called Naruto Uzumaki. As you well realized yesterday, the leader of Akatsuki destroyed the seal, so the souls of Naruto and the Kyuubi are now in his body, said Tsunade in a loud and very serious voice. All the villagers, especially the blonde man's friends, listened attentively to the story and could not believe what they were hearing. What are you waiting for? Why don't you kill him? A man shouted from the audience. Do you want a repeat of what happened when that monster attacked us? A very annoyed woman said. Kill him. Other villagers shouted, very annoyed. Hinata was completely stunned. Now she could understand why no one loved her beloved Naruto and why they always ignored him. It hurt her to see how they talked about him like that, and she ran away while some tears fell from her face. Hiashi saw how his daughter ran away crying and remembered what happened the day before. Tsunade could only listen in disbelief as the great mass of people shouted angrily and demanded that an innocent young man be killed under the disappointed head of the people and under the podium. Jiraiya, who had remained hidden on the branch of a tree and quickly got down from it and ran away. One of the council elders approached an Anbu. Go to where Naruto is and kill him, the old man said, as the Anbu disappeared. Naruto's friends gathered in one place. What are we going to do? They're going to kill Naruto, Lee said, very seriously. Even if they say he's a monster, he's still Naruto, Sakura said very seriously. They quickly ran to the hospital to protect their friend. Upon arriving at the hospital, they saw the guards who were at the door passed out on the floor and the members of the Anbu searching the surrounding area. Then Tsunade arrived with Shizune and the council members. What happened? Tsunade said, fearing the worst. Escaped, Naruto Uzumaki escaped, said the Anbu, approaching the woman who could not hide her joy as well as the blonde's friends. But how? Said the old man, very annoyed. It seems it was Jiraiya-sama who arrived, attacked the guards, and took the boy away, said the Anbu, his tone very serious. Until you finally do something right, Tsunade thought happily. While that was happening outside Konoha, Jiraiya was running at an impressive speed with Naruto on his shoulder, getting as far away from the village as possible and thinking of a place where his young student could be safe. Chapter 2. A new adventure. Chapter 2. Reunion with an old friend. It's been almost 5 years since Jiraiya left Konoha with Naruto to avoid being killed. When they fled, the Sannin took the blonde to the hidden sand village, hoping that Gaara would help them. Upon arriving at the village, the Kazekage, upon learning that they were there, received them and upon learning what had happened, agreed to give the young ninja asylum. It took Naruto almost 2 weeks to adapt to all the power he had, and it hurt him greatly when his sensei told him what had happened in his village. Gaara sent a message to Konoha telling them that from that moment on Naruto was officially named Genin of the Hidden Sand Village, and along with the letter, also arrived the young man's protector with a leaf symbol. Tsunade gladly received the news since at least he was safe where he was. The blonde's friends were happy that he was okay, although the fact that he was so far away saddened them, especially a silver-eyed girl. Those interested in the destruction of the Kyuubi were calm that he was no longer there, but they were worried about the fact that by being in the ranks of the Sand Village, it would become invincible. In the village where Naruto lived now, he and his teacher lived in a fairly comfortable house thanks to Gaara. The Kazekage told his village about the blonde, since he did not want to hide anything from them. He told them the whole truth about the Kyuubi, but they did not care. They remembered how he helped rescue their leader and did not put a problem to him living with them. Finally the years passed and almost 5 years have passed since the blonde fled from Konoha. Since he arrived he became a key piece for the village since he helped them in everything and he satisfactorily completed all the missions, and with all his power, he quickly became the best ninja in the village despite being a genin. The only contact the young man maintained with his previous village was thanks to Shikamaru since he visited the village very often to visit Temari. In Konoha things were going very well. Sakura, Lee, Tenten and Shino were jonins, while the others were still chunins. Sasuke quickly took the exam and rose to chunin, and 2 years later he became jonin, and after 1 more year, he became among the elite category of jonins, the highest rank of a ninja before being Kage. The exploits of both Naruto and the last of the Uchiha clan spread throughout both villages, and vice versa. One day Tsunade was in the Hokage tower and waited for the ninjas she had summoned to arrive. The door opened and through it entered Kakashi, Sakura, Sai, Yamato, Ino, Choji, Shikamaru, Shino, Kiba and his dog, Hinata, Kurenai, Lee, Niji, Guy, Tenten, Anko, and several other ninjas. I sent for you because there are several missions that must be completed very soon, among them we have the lost son of an important feudal lord of the Land of Wind, a scroll stolen on the outskirts of the Land of Water, and finally the annihilation of a group of ninja mercenaries who are terrorizing nearby villages. These are the missions you must carry out, now I will organize the groups," said Tsunade very seriously. Tsunade saw Mishinyu said, entering the room in a very agitated mood. "What's wrong?" Tsunade said, a little annoyed by the interruption. "I was looking through the Chunin exam participant sheets and found one you should see," Shizune said, a little flustered. "Whose is it?" Tsunade said very seriously. "Naruto Uzumaki." Shizune said a little worried. For some reason that name sounded like a bomb exploding inside the room. The fifth took the sheet and checked it, while all the other ninjas were stupefied. Hinata felt like her heart was going to jump out of her body, while the others present watched their leader carefully read the sheet and how after finishing reading it, he looked at Shizune. "Accept it," Tsunade said, trying to look serious, but inside she was screaming with happiness. "But you shouldn't tell the council members first," Shizune said, very confused. "No, he's now a ninja from that village, not Konoha, so they have no jurisdiction over these matters," Tsunade said, very seriously. "Very well," Shizune said as she left. "Naruto-kun is going to return to the village," Hinata said, very hopeful. "No, she's just coming to take the exam and then she'll leave again," Tsunade said, a little seriously. "I see." Hinata said a little sad but happy to be able to see her beloved since she hadn't been able to visit him because she didn't have the opportunity. "Well, the teams will be organized as follows," Tsunade said, returning to the topic of the meeting. The ninjas went to carry out their missions and completed them with total success. They arrived at the village to be in time for when the exams began and to be able to see the kitsune again. Despite trying to keep it a secret, the news of the blonde's arrival in Konoha spread and reached the ears of the council, but despite their efforts, they could not prevent it from happening, although there were only a few who tried to prevent it, since several like Hiashi stayed on the sidelines. Little by little all the ninjas who were going to participate in the exam began to arrive from their respective villages: Sakura, Sai, Sasuke, Ino, Choji, Shikamaru, Hinata, Kiba, Shino, Niji, Lee, Tenten, Kakashi, Guy, Yamato, Konohamaru, Tsunade and Shizune were near the entrance, watching the arriving ninjas. Almost at the end, two teams of ninjas arrived led by Temari with her usual clothes and by an old man with a white beard and hair of the same color. The two teams were made up of 3 boys and 3 girls. The first was a short young man with blue hair and thick build, a green-haired girl with a sword at her waist, and finally a black-haired girl with a rather voluptuous body who carried a kind of scroll on her back that was large. The other team had a fairly tall man covered in bandages and the Sand Village outfit. He carried a large scythe on his shoulders and the only part of his body that was not bandaged was his lips. A red-haired girl wearing sunglasses and a briefcase who was dressed in a red outfit and had the protector on her forehead was the only female member of the team. "Naruto-kun," Hinata thought as she saw the last member of the team while feeling her heartbeat out of control. The tall young man with long blonde hair that was quite messy was the last member of the team. He wore the protector on his forehead and had the symbol of the sand. He also had red eyes and a cold expression on his face. All his clothes were black, except for his boots that were brown. The gloves were also brown, as well as a sleeveless jacket which looked like they had been torn off and had the symbol of the hidden Sand Village on the back. He had 2 samurai-style swords but shorter on his back crossed in an X shape, as well as a kunai holder on his right leg and left arm. Behind the two teams came a man with long white hair with a large bottle of sake in his hand. Everyone was very surprised to see the blonde arrive. That must be Naruto, but he looked very different, taller, more serious, and you could even say wild, but something caught the girl's attention. Since when did he look so handsome? The two teams continued on, and Temari and the old man headed to the exam building, while the Sannin went to talk to his former teammate. "Hi Tsunade, it's been a while," said Jiraiya a little happy. "Hello, was that blonde boy Naruto?" said Tsunade a little confused. "Yes, it has changed a lot, right?" said Jiraiya a little seriously. "That's an understatement," Tsunade said, very surprised. "Why don't you say hi?" Sakura said, a little offended. "He doesn't want to get them into trouble," Jiraiya said, a little seriously. "Why?" Hinata said, a little confused. "He thinks that if they see you talking to him, they'll hurt you. Remember, they wanted to kill him," Jiraiya said very seriously. "I understand now," Sasuke said a little seriously. The Uchiha watched as the blonde walked through the streets, and as a large number of girls stared at him wanting to kiss him, the kitsune and his group entered the building where the tests were going to begin. Upon arriving they saw a large number of ninjas from other villages. In the distance the owner of the Kyubi saw a young woman with black hair and platinum eyes. She must be Hinata's younger sister who was participating in the exam. The examiner of the first exam was again Ibiki Marino, so at the end of the exam only 12 teams remained. Among them were the 2 teams from the Sand Village, Hanabi Hyuga's team, another from Konoha, 3 from the Rain Village, 2 from the Earth Village, and 3 from the Lightning Village. Then they arrived at the Forest of Death and their supervisor was Anko again. The exam began and all the groups entered the dangerous forest. Naruto and his group entered the forest and stopped near a tree. "Hey Ori, what can you see?" the bandaged man said, looking at his companion. "The Sao, Takashi, and Kana's team is that way," Kaori said, taking off her glasses and pointing in that direction. "What are we waiting for?" Naruto said a little impatiently. "We have the scroll of heaven, so we have to find the one of earth," said the bandaged man. "Calm down, Tetsuya. Once we're with the others, we'll hunt down the other teams until we get the other scrolls," Naruto said with a slightly sinister smile. In this way they were jumping from branch to branch and in the middle of the path they met a team from the Lightning Village whom the kitsune killed before they realized it. He searched their bodies until he found another scroll of the sky. "Well, maybe this one will help the others," Naruto said, putting the scroll away. They continued on their way until they met their teammates who had the Earth Scroll, and with the Sky Scroll that the blonde got, they only needed one more Earth Scroll, and both teams would qualify. The days passed and 3 of the 5 days had already passed. Hanabi and her group that was formed only by girls, one of them blonde and the other with brown hair, were hiding in the trunk of a tree. One of her friends was recovering from a battle they had had with a team of fog from whom they had to escape so that they would not kill them, since they were very strong. They only had one Earth Scroll. They were all very tired and hungry, so at that moment they were vulnerable to any attack. The group of rain ninjas they had fought before appeared in front of them very pleased. The Hyuga was very scared as were her friends. One of them did a jutsu, and a large torrent of water came out of a nearby pond, hitting the girls, crashing them into the tree and leaving them out of combat. "Wow, they're cute," said one of the ninjas, smiling grimly. "You're right, before we kill them, let's have a little fun with them," said another ninja, licking his lips. The 3 rain ninjas approached the girls, tearing their clothes. Hanabi, who was the only conscious one, tried in vain to struggle, and just as the ninja on top of her tore her shirt, leaving her torso naked, he stopped when he felt a sword on his neck. "Who are you?" the ninja said, but almost immediately he was beheaded by the newcomer. The other 2 saw the blonde, but before they could move Naruto appeared in front of them, killing them with overwhelming ease. "Are you okay?" Naruto said, looking at the silver-eyed girl. Yes, thank you," said Hanabi, covering her chest with her hands and with her face completely red. The blonde man took off his jacket and threw it to the young woman. She covered herself and then looked at the blonde man who had a vest with several scrolls and the swords were tied to his waist. He approached the bodies of the ninjas and pulled a scroll from the sky. "I think you need this one," Naruto said very seriously. She was surprised because she didn't understand how he knew that was the one they needed, but then she saw one of the pieces of his shirt and there was their scroll. She nodded and he threw the scroll to her. "Why are you helping me?" Hanabi said, a little intrigued. "Your sister and I were good friends before I left, and what those cowards were going to do deserves death," Naruto said, a little seriously. "Thank you," Hanabi said, a little blushing. "If you want, you and your friends can stay with us until you recover," Naruto said, trying to sound friendly. She saw her companions and nodded. This Naruto created 2 clones that carried the 2 unconscious girls, and together with the Hyuga they arrived at a cave where the other sand ninjas were. Once there, the girls gave some clothes to the 3 Konoha girls, and the blonde man got his jacket back. The next morning, thanks to the help of the black-haired girl who was a medical ninja, they recovered from their wounds and ate a little, thus recovering their energy. "Thank you for everything," Hanabi said, bowing. "See you next round," Naruto said, smiling. "You're missing scrolls," said the blonde from the Konoha team. "No, we have them all," Takashi said, showing him the 4 scrolls. "So why don't you go to the tower then?" the brown-haired woman said, a little confused. "It's more fun here," Naruto said, a little seriously. They didn't understand the message and went in the direction of the tower, while the group in the arena looked at them. "How many teams are left?" Tetsuya said very seriously. "With them and us, about 5. said Naruto a little seriously. "Because you helped them," said Takashi, the fat dwarf, a little intrigued. "I already told you, the one with wide eyes is the sister of an old friend," Naruto said very seriously. "It seems you're still loyal to this village," the black-haired woman said, smiling a little. "Not with this village, only with my friends. If it weren't for them, I would destroy this village myself, along with all its inhabitants." Naruto said, smiling in such a sinister way that it scared his companions a little. Chapter 3. The New Adventure. Chapter 3. Accidental Encounter. The week ended and in the Tower of the Forest of Death were gathered 5 teams that managed to get there. The teams that remained were the 2 from the arena, 1 from Konoha, where Hanabi Hyuga was, who at this moment was identical to Hinata when she arrived at the Chunin exams, only with slightly longer hair. The other 2 teams were 1 from the Rain Village and 1 from the Lightning Village, Tsunade followed by Shizune, the team leaders, and some Jonin came to see the teams that qualified. Among the spectators were Sasuke, Sakura, Lee, Tenten, Niji, Guy, Yamato, Kakashi, Tamari and the old man with a white beard who accompanied her, and other ninjas. The 15 of you have made it to this stage of the Chunin exams. Now you'll have a series of battles to see who will advance to the final part of the exam," said Tsunade, very serious but very happy to see that Naruto passed. One by one the battles began. Hanabi was the only one in her group who made it to the next round, as well as a ninja from the Lightning Village, and all the members of the arena teams, except for the fatty who lost and Naruto who had not yet fought. The last of the battles was Naruto against one of the Lightning Ninjas and one of the Rain Ninjas. It was a battle of all against all. Naruto's former companions waited expectantly for the battle to begin to see how strong he had become. The Rain Ninja launched himself against the blonde who was staring at him and only grabbed him by the arm, stopping his attack. He gave the ninja a strong kick that threw him against the wall, leaving a large mark and leaving his opponent unconscious. The kitsune looked at the other ninja who was doing a series of seals, finished the movements, and launched a large series of rays that joined together forming a dragon that headed towards Naruto, who disappeared and appeared behind the lightning ninja. To everyone's surprise, the blonde hit him in the neck, leaving him unconscious, and the dragon disappeared. "The winner is Naruto Uzumaki," said the examiner, pointing at the kitsune. Everyone was amazed at the speed with which he won, and even more so at the speed at which he moved, especially Sasuke. The blonde's teammates applauded his performance and he joined his team. Then, Tsunade called out everyone who had advanced to the next round and congratulated them. "Everyone, draw a number. In a month, the final round of the exam will be held and it will decide who will advance to the Chunin level," Tsunade said very seriously. One by one they drew the numbers showing who their opponents would be. Naruto would have to fight Tetsuya, Kaori against Hanabi, Misao against the Lightning Ninja, and Kana would move on to the second round and face off against the other 3 who made it to that round. "See you next round and have a good training session," Tsunade said, leaving with Shizune. All the teams left the Forest of Death and headed to the village. Both teams of the Sand Village were already walking through the streets where some were very quiet. "I can't believe that girl beat me," Takashi said, very annoyed. "I told you not to let his blows touch you," Naruto said, laughing a little. "You were lucky. I have to fight this maniac," Tetsuya said, pointing at the blonde. "Why are you calling me a maniac?" Naruto said, a little offended. "Well, it's not because every time you see ramen you throw yourself at it like a hungry dog and eat it like you've never eaten before in your life," Tetsuya said, a little seriously. "It tastes good, there's nothing better in the world than ramen," Naruto said, laughing. "Yeah, but you don't eat anything else," Takashi said, laughing a little. "Well, what are you talking about? You eat everything that crosses your path. You'd eat dogs if they didn't run away from you," said Tetsuya, looking at the chubby boy. "It's just that I'm growing," Takashi said, rolling his eyes. "Speaking of ramen, I wonder if Ichikaru is still open. They make the best ramen in the world there," Naruto said, his eyes dreamy. "Can't you think about anything other than eating ramen?" Tetsuya said, a little annoyed. "No," Naruto said, laughing as he disappeared. His companions looked at him with a drop of sweat on their heads and headed to the hotel to rest while the blonde walked through the streets of Konoha on his way to the stand where he had eaten since he could remember. The villagers looked at him and began to whisper, saying things like, "There's the devil," and things like that, but the kitsune completely ignored them and continued with his sacred mission of looking for food. It wasn't that it didn't bother him, in fact it gave him an almost incalculable desire to kill them with the greatest possible pain so that they would truly speak willingly, but the fact of losing his friends in the village prevented him from doing anything. "I walk briskly until I reach a restaurant. Where's Ichikaru?" Naruto thought, a little disappointed. "Naruto?" said a girl's voice behind the blonde. The kitsune turned around and looked at a young woman with short, very pretty brown hair. "Am?" said Naruto, quite impressed. "Look how much you've grown," Am said, approaching the blonde. "You too, what happened to the ramen stand?" Naruto said, a little intrigued. "It's over there," Am said, pointing at the restaurant. "Wow, business has been good," Naruto said happily. "Come in," Am said as she entered the restaurant followed by the kitsune. The boy entered and went up to the bar. Some of those who were there stared at him. The brown-haired girl brought the blonde a large plate of ramen that he ate with eagerness. After half an hour, and to the horror of the customers and the pleasure of the owners of the place, the kitsune had finished more than 50 plates of ramen. Gosh, I haven't eaten this well in a long time. They definitely make the best ramen in the world here, Naruto said as he paid for the food. I've missed you around here, Naruto. You were my best customer, said the elderly owner of the establishment. I'm going to come here every day as long as I'm in Konoha, Naruto said, taking a sip of water and leaving the premises. Naruto, said a girl's voice in the distance screaming. The boy turns around and sees a red-haired girl approaching him at high speed, showing a big smile. Sakura-chan, Naruto whispered as he saw the beautiful Kunoichi arrive. The young woman came up to him and hugged him. The blonde man blushed and noticed the clear difference in their height. He was now at least half a head taller than her. They separated and he could see the girl's face better. Her hair was just as short as it had been before, her face was that of a very beautiful woman, and her outfit was practically the same, except now she was wearing pants and her hair protector. It's been a long time, look at you, Sakura said, blushing slightly when she saw the boy. That was something she couldn't deny, he now looked damn attractive, his red eyes, his hair, and the marks on his cheeks and his fangs that protruded from his mouth when he smiled gave him a rather unusual appeal. Well, you've changed too. Naruto said a little nervously. Hello, inept. Said the voice of a rather serious boy, to which the blonde looked at him. Hello, Sasuke. Said Naruto a little seriously. The pink-haired girl looked at both boys who had a fixed and challenging look at each other. A small thread of electricity was in the gaze of both. As the seconds passed, the lightning became stronger until it exploded. The two young shinobi were left with completely black faces and their eyes wide open at this event. They wiped their faces and looked at each other defiantly. The blonde looked closely at the appearance of his former companion. His face was practically the same, only more adult. His hair and hairstyle were identical. The only thing that changed was the clothes he wore, which were identical to the ones Kakashi wears, and he was a little taller than the blonde. I see you've changed a lot. I heard you've gotten really strong, Sasuke said in a rather arrogant tone of voice. I've heard a lot about you too, the best ninja in Konoha village, Naruto said in the same tone. How about you and I practice a little in the training ground? Sasuke said very seriously. I'd like to, but I have to meet up with my team, maybe another time, Naruto said, equally serious. It will be another time, right? Sasuke said a little seriously. Yes, see you Sakura-chan. Said Naruto saying goodbye to his friend and walking towards the hotel. The blonde arrived at the hotel, went to his room, took a bath and lay down in bed until the next day. Naruto-kun, said a girl's voice outside the blonde's room, knocking on the door. What's wrong? Naruto said, still lying in bed and a little annoyed. Atsuhiko-sensei wants to see us all to start training, the girl said. I'm coming, Naruto said, getting out of bed. The blonde took a bath, put on a clean uniform that was completely identical to the previous one, and went out to look for his team. When he arrived at the hotel lounge, he saw Tamari with the old man and his companions from the Sand Village. You're late, the old man said, a little annoyed. I'm sorry Katsuhiko-sensei, I was very sleepy. Naruto said, laughing a little. Okay, first we're going to get something to eat, then we're going to train a little to prepare for the final test. Naruto, you don't have to come with us. Jiraiya-sama wants you to go see him in Konoha Park so he can talk to you. Said Katsuhiko very seriously. Okay, Naruto said, nodding his head. Why don't you train with us? Tetsuya said, a little annoyed. Because if you want to have even a small chance of lasting even a minute fighting him, you'll have to improve a lot, and I don't think you want him to see you training, Takashi said very seriously. That's true, but try to calm down during the fight. I don't want you to kill me by getting too excited, Tetsuya said, looking at the kitsune. Relax, I wouldn't hurt any of my friends, at least not too much, Naruto said in a somewhat mocking tone of voice. I don't know whether to believe you or be scared, Tetsuya said, a little seriously. The blonde started laughing and everyone went to eat. After they finished, Naruto said goodbye to his companions and went to look for the Sannin. When he arrived at the park, he saw him spying on some girls hidden behind a tree. When will it change? Naruto thought, a little annoyed. Nah, Naruto-kun, said the almost inaudible voice of a girl next to him. The blonde looked at the girl, something about her seemed familiar, but he didn't recognize her until he saw her platinum eyes. Hinata, is that you? Said Naruto, very confused and surprised. Chapter 4. A New Adventure. Chapter 4. The Welcome. The girl who was looking at the kitsune was far from being his old friend. She had hair of such a dark blue color that it could easily be mistaken for black, it covered part of her face, and her wide eyes were barely noticeable. She was quite tall, but not as tall as him. Her body was very developed, but it was not very noticeable, since she still wore clothes that left too much to the imagination. Her face was the one that had changed the most. It was no longer that of a girl, but that of a full-fledged woman, and her red-tinted cheeks made her look undeniably beautiful. Yes, it's me. Said Hinata, lowering her gaze slightly, very embarrassed by the way he looked at her. Wow, you've really changed, look at you, you're beautiful. I mean, it's not like you weren't before, I'd better shut up. Naruto said, a little blushing. You two have changed a lot. Hinata said, her cheeks completely red and on the verge of fainting. That was incredible, so many years had passed without seeing him, and now that she saw him she was behaving like a child in front of him again. Yes, it's true, now they're taller than before and very strong. Said Naruto, giving himself a bit of an air of superiority. I'm glad to hear that, Hinata said, very nervous. Hey, you have no problem talking to me, remember what happened with Kyuubi? Naruto said, a little seriously. No, none. My sister told me what you did for her during the exam, Hinata said, blushing a lot and with a courage that she didn't know where it was coming from, since she wanted to run away from there. It was nothing, Naruto said quite happily. Stop it, for me it is, since you told her that you and I were friends and that's why you helped her, that made me very happy, Hinata said, on the verge of cardiac arrest. It's the truth, for me you will still be my friends. Said Naruto smiling. She smiled shyly and at that moment a large dog appeared, knocking the girl down. Hinata, are you okay? Naruto said as he approached the girl and helped her up. Akamaru's coming back, said a boy running up to the spot. Kiba said Naruto when he saw the dog's owner. Hello Naruto, long time no see. Said Kiba smiling. The dog boy looked the same, only a little more adult and even dressed the same. He grabbed his canine companion and saw Hinata holding onto the blonde's arm. She realized how he was and let go of him with her face very red. Hello Naruto. Said a boy behind the blonde. The blonde turned around and saw a young man with black hair completely covered in black clothing that only showed part of his face and wore black glasses that covered his eyes. Naruto stared at him for several seconds until he finally recognized him. Hello Shino, Naruto said kindly. Why are you still taking so long to recognize me? You recognized Hinata and Kiba immediately. Shino said very seriously. How do you expect me to recognize you immediately if you dress like that? Naruto said, a little annoyed. That might be true, Shino said, analyzing the situation. How long do you plan on staying in the village? Kiba said, looking at the blonde. At least until the Chunin exams are over, then I'll return to the Sand Village, Naruto said, a little seriously. Hey, how about we celebrate that you're here? Kiba said, smiling. Celebrate? Naruto said a little confused. Yeah, look, I'm going to find the guys to celebrate your return and then we can have a big party together. Kiba said excitedly. No problem, I can tell my teammates, Naruto said, a little excited. Okay, I'll tell the guys. Hopefully I can invite some pretty girls to come along, Kiba said with a sly smile. Almost as if he had been summoned, Jiraiya appeared in the middle of the young people, scaring them. You said cute girls, Jiraiya said near the dog boy. Yes. Kiba said a little intimidated. Okay, we'll be there. Said Jiraiya, hugging the blonde who was trying to get away. Let me go, Naruto said, almost breathless. I've been waiting for you for a while, Jiraiya said, looking at the blonde with such seriousness that it worried the young men. What's wrong? Naruto said a little worried. Come with me. Said Jiraiya very seriously as he walked to the place where he was before. See you tonight, guys, Naruto said, waving them off. See you tonight, Kiba said as he hopped on his pet and walked off. See you. Shino said, walking slowly away from the place. Take care, Naruto-kun, Hinata said, a little nervously as she turned around and walked home. The blonde approached his teacher who looked at him very seriously. What's wrong? Said Naruto very seriously. Do you see those girls? Jiraiya said very seriously. The kitsune looked at the woman his master pointed out. There were 4 girls, a black-haired girl, 2 red-haired girls and a blue-haired girl, all of them were very pretty and had spectacular bodies, in appearance they seemed like simple civilians. What's wrong with them? Naruto said, staring at them. I want you to get them wet. Jiraiya said very seriously. Why? Said Naruto very confused. What do you mean, why? Well, to see what their bodies are like for my new novel, Jiraiya said very seriously, causing the blonde to fall backward. Is that why you summoned me, Iro-senin? Naruto said, very annoyed. Well, for that and to train a little. Said Jiraiya a little seriously. Okay. Naruto said as he looked at the nearby lake. The young man performed a series of hand positions and a powerful torrent of water shot out of the lake and into the sky, falling like rain and soaking everyone nearby, including the girls, whose dresses were so tight they left practically nothing to the imagination. At this sight, Naruto and his teacher's eyes almost popped out when they saw the girls. Not bad at all, Naruto said, smiling. I don't know why you always refuse to do this if you know you like doing it, Jiraiya said, smiling. The blonde didn't respond and looked at his teacher. What kind of training are we going to do? Naruto said, a little seriously. Well, since Tamari and Katsuhiko are going to put their boys through exhaustive training, I thought we could take a little trip so you can practice without anyone bothering you, Jiraiya said, a little seriously. Sounds good to me, Naruto said, a little thoughtfully. But we're leaving tomorrow after the party. Jiraiya said happily, leaving the blonde with a drop on his head. It was almost nightfall, and at the hotel where the two arena teams were staying, everyone was ready to go to the welcome party. They didn't put on formal clothes or anything like that, but instead went in their usual clothes, left the hotel and went to Sasuke's house, where he offered it to host the party. The house was huge and very ornate, it was elegant and above all very spacious, there were a lot of people there, and they kept arriving. In the end the number of people there was high, in that place were many of Naruto's friends and several acquaintances. Among those present were Sasuke, Sakura, Sai, Yamato, Kakashi, Shikamaru, Ino, Choji, Niji, Tenten, Lee, Guy, Hinata, Kurenai with a girl of about 4 years old just like her, Kiba, Shino, Konohamaru and his two companions Yuden and Mogi, with his teacher Ibisu, Anko, Hiruka, Hanabi and her friends, Tsunade with Shizune, several more girls who went to dance, and a group of ambus and ninjas who snuck in. After a while the blonde and his companions arrived, Tamari entered and approached Shikamaru. Itsaya, Kaori, Misao, Kana, Takashi, Jiraiya, Katsuhiko and Naruto entered and closed the doors. The moment the blonde entered the vast majority of the girls stared at him, as if devouring him with their eyes. The party began, and the music was heard at full volume, while everyone celebrated and played games, among which the one who ate the most and in that competition entered Takashi, Choji and Naruto, and after tons of food, Takashi won, hurting the pride of his two opponents, who were about to faint or vomit because of the large amount of food. The party lasted all night and ended in the early hours of the morning. Upon leaving the house, everyone went to their respective homes. Naruto and Jiraiya, upon arriving at the hotel, took their things and left the village to return when the last stage of the exam began. They left at full speed until they reached a valley quite far from Konoha, there they unpacked and got ready. Very well, now we will begin. Said Jiraiya a little seriously. Okay. Naruto said ready to start. Destroy the mountain Jiraiya said, looking into the distance. Fine. Said Naruto bringing his hands closer but not touching them. A small red chakra sphere began to form and the young man threw it at the mountain which shattered with the power of the energy sphere and only small rocks remained in its place. Impressive. Said Jiraiya very seriously. Yes, it almost doesn't take long to make it anymore. Naruto said very pleased. Don't even think about fighting seriously in Chunin fights, don't use all your power there because it can be dangerous. Said Jiraiya very seriously and staring at the blonde. Don't worry, I've seen the level everyone there is at and I can beat them without using all my power, in fact, not even Sasuke makes me use a single one of my tails. Naruto said a little seriously. I'm glad to hear that, now let's keep training. Those techniques you came up with are powerful but difficult to control, especially the one with the 5 elements. If you do it wrong, you could destroy a large part of the continent. Said Jiraiya very seriously. Okay, let's practice, Naruto said as he got into a fighting stance. Chapter 5. A new adventure. Chapter 5. Problems in exams. The training ended almost as quickly as it began, and Naruto was very pleased since the large number of techniques that the Kyuubi had seen throughout his existence, and the one that he himself had seen regardless of the element, and if they were from the line of succession, he could now do them without much effort. At the end of the training he saw his teacher lying on the ground trying to breathe. You're in very bad condition, Naruto said in a somewhat mocking tone of voice. Shut up. Jiraiya said a little annoyed. Now that we're alone, are you going to explain to me why we're here? Naruto said, a little seriously. What are you talking about? Jiraiya said, a little confused. Do you really think I was going to believe that story about special training? I had almost mastered these techniques, but I could still wait to perfect them. Leaving Konoha during the Chunin exams is very strange. What's going on? Naruto said very seriously. I see I can't fool you, Jiraiya said, sighing. That's right. Naruto said a little pleased. Tsunade thought it best for you to leave the village at least until the exams started, since there are many people who don't want you there, especially the council elders, those who used to be on the 3rd team. Said Jiraiya very seriously. What the hell are you guys? Don't you think that if I was going to hurt you, I would have done it a long time ago? Naruto said, a little offended. Yes, but if it weren't for your friends, you would attack Konoha. Said Jiraiya very seriously. Good point, despite all the hatred Kyuubi has for the village it's a lot, and when we joined I was left with that feeling. Naruto said a little seriously. To tell the truth, I'm surprised that when your souls merged, it was yours that remained intact the most. Kyuubi only became memories and experiences, and a part of your character remained. Jiraiya said, a little thoughtfully. Well, yes, even I'm a little scared by that killer instinct that takes over me sometimes, Naruto said, a little seriously. At least you can control it now, Jiraiya said, half seriously. That's right. Naruto said a little calmer. Time passed quickly and very soon the month of preparation for the end of the Chunin exams ended, all the competitors were in the battle arena, but Naruto had not arrived yet. What's going to happen to that idiot who never makes it? Sakura said, very annoyed, sitting in the stands with most of the blonde's classmates. Calm down Sakura, Naruto was very excited for this day to come, it will come. Said Temari who was sitting next to her and behind her was Shikamaru almost asleep. On the main balcony, the council members were looking at their watches, quite pleased. You think that boy is already dead? An old man said in a low voice, looking at the old woman beside him. He must be. The assassins he hired are very good, the old woman said, quite confidently. Naruto's teammates who were going to participate in the exam were in the arena and were very anxious. Tsuchiya, Kaori, Misao and Kana were quite nervous about the blonde's delay. Classic from that idiot, he arrived at the last minute. Said Tsuchiya very annoyed. I hope so. He's never late. He's really worrying me, Kaori said, a little nervously. At that moment a noise began to be heard, at first it was very faint, but it began to get louder, it was like the noise of something falling, they looked up and saw how a large object of monumental size was falling towards the sand, everyone quickly moved away, and Gamabunta fell into the sand, leaving a large crater and raising a large wall of smoke. We're here, Naruto said, getting off the huge toad. I'm alive, Jiraiya said, very dizzy. Yes, and we arrived on time. I told you it was a great idea to use Gamabunta to get there. Said Naruto happily as the enormous amphibian disappeared. You almost didn't make it in time, idiot, Tsuchiya said, very annoyed, coming out of his hiding place. Sorry, we had a little delay but nothing to worry about, Naruto said very calmly. Well, if everyone's already filled out, we can begin, said a ninja appearing in the middle of the arena. All the participants left the arena, leaving only Naruto and Tsuchiya, thus beginning the final fights. The bandage boy took out his large scythe and got into a fighting stance as Naruto looked at him. In the stands there was an old man who was very thoughtful. Hey, if I remember correctly, that giant toad wasn't the one the fourth Hokage used, the old man said. Yes, that's true, he is, but it's no wonder he uses it if his master is the same one who trained the fourth, said a man at his side. But seeing that boy so grown up reminds me so much of the fourth one. He's very similar, said the old man, but he fell silent when he saw that the fight was about to begin. The bandaged young man ran at full speed towards the kitsune who was watching him, raised his large weapon, and with a quick movement began to turn it creating a large current of air that went towards the blonde. Naruto only sent a little chakra to his feet and the wind hit him without harming him, without stopping the attack, Tsuchiya continued his run to attack the blonde who only bit his finger and placed him on the ground. His opponent stopped to see what he summoned, he was ready to see the gigantic toad, but instead he saw a very small one that was as small as a stone. Is this a joke? Said Tsuchiya very annoyed. Naruto just smiled and the toad stretched out his tongue, grabbing the almost mummy's leg and throwing him with such monstrous force against one of the walls that it left a large deep mark on it. Tsuchiya fell to the ground completely unconscious and the small amphibian went to his master who congratulated him and then disappeared. The judge appeared in the arena and declared Naruto the winner to everyone's surprise. While that was happening Jiraiya was next to Tsunade and Gaara who had gone to Konoha to watch the fights, he told them how they were intercepted by a large number of ninjas who tried to kill them, but that all of them were killed by Naruto. This last thing worried the Hokage a lot, who suspected that someone was trying to kill the blonde, but now his suspicions were confirmed. After a couple of minutes the next battle began between Hanabi and Kaori, the latter took off her glasses showing her eyes which were a very bright pink color, which left the Hyuga very surprised. That's a Jujutsu, Hanabi said very seriously. That's right, it allows me to see the aura of things no matter how far away they are. Kaori said very seriously. That's not much use, Hanabi said, getting into a fighting stance. You'd be surprised, Kaori said, a little annoyed. The battle began almost immediately, but the Hyuga could not connect her blows, despite being faster the Redeed seemed to know how she was going to attack and reacted in advance to her attacks. You still think seeing auras isn't very useful, but I can tell what you're going to do through it, Kaori said very seriously. The battle lasted for several minutes, until Kaori created a large whirlpool that sent Hanabi through the air crashing her into the ground. The battle ended with Kaori of the Sand Village emerging victorious, Misao won the battle against the Lightning Ninja, and then the other battles took place. Naruto faced Kaori and won, while Misao's battle against Kana ended with Kana emerging victorious. The last battle ended almost in the blink of an eye after Naruto at an almost undetectable speed created a Rasengan and with it attacked his partner defeating her instantly. After the judges' evaluations of the battles, they gave an envelope to the Hokage so that she could name those who were going to become Chunin. Given their abilities, Kaori was named Chunin, Misao, Hanabi, Kana too. The last to be named Chunin was Naruto, and just at that moment the members of the Konoha council stood up from their seats and spoke. "He can't be allowed to become a Chunin," the old woman said, very annoyed. "For what reason?" said Tsunade, very annoyed. "He's a traitor. He left the village 5 years ago, and that automatically makes him a renegade," the old man said, supporting his companion. "That's ridiculous. He left this village because his life was in danger. Besides, he's now a sand ninja and a citizen of our village," Gaara said angrily. "This has nothing to do with you," the old woman said. "Naruto is part of our village, and if you have anything against him, we'll take it as an offense to our village," Gaara said very seriously. "I don't think we need to go to that extreme," Hiashi said, appearing on the scene. "What do you mean?" the old man said very seriously. "It's simple, he no longer belongs to this village, but I think that maybe we can give him an additional test since he renounced this village. If he passes it, he will be named Chunin. If not, he will have to leave for the Sand Village and will never be able to attempt the exam again," said Hiashi very seriously. "Sounds good to me," Naruto said from the sand. "Okay," Gaara said very seriously. "What will the test be?" Tsunade said, looking at the leader of the Hyuga clan. "A battle against several of our village's best ninjas. If he passes, he'll prove he's ready to be a Chunin," Hiashi said very seriously. Chapter 6. The Great Adventure. Chapter 6. Naruto vs Konoha 1. The entire crowd of spectators was silent, a great battle was about to begin, and in the battle arena, there was only Naruto sitting on a rock waiting for his opponents to be chosen. Gaara, like all the sand ninjas, were anxiously watching the kitsune who was very calm and apparently asleep. Hinata and Sakura looked everywhere waiting for the council to appear and announce the names of the contenders. Finally, Tenten, Lee, Shino, Kakashi, Niji, Yamato, Kurenai, Anko and a dozen Ambus came out of the door, and right behind them was Hiashi who approached the blonde. "They will be your opponents," Hiashi said very seriously. "It was about time," Naruto said calmly as he stood up and stretched. "Beat," Hiashi said as he headed for the door. All the spectators were silent and just looked expectantly at the ninjas who were in the arena. Hinata felt her heartbeat out of control, seeing the large number of opponents that her beloved would face. "That boy is dead," said a man in the audience. "He'll never beat our best ninjas," a woman said. Sakura watched them very annoyed, but at that moment several Ambus began to move around the blonde. "Naruto-kun, don't think that just because we're friends means we're not going to fight seriously," Lee said, removing the weights from his legs. "I'd be offended if you didn't," Naruto said, smiling. 3 Ambus launched themselves against the blonde who grabbed one by the arm and threw him to the ground. The other 2 were going to attack him when he jumped, and making a series of hand positions several clones appeared. These attacked all the Ambus, but without touching his friends. Sasuke arrived at that moment since he had had a mission and had just returned. Everyone saw how the large number of Ambus were defeated by the clones who acted as a great team. 2 Ambus ran up the walls to attack from the air, but 2 clones followed them, each one made a Rasengan, and in the end they joined them, reaching their opponents and impacting them. They fell to the ground where their companions lay unconscious. Some more appeared, but only to take the fallen, clearing the battlefield, the clones of the blonde disappearing, but a large amount of shurikens and kunes, as well as sembos, headed towards the blonde who took out his 2 swords and blocks them all, making circular movements with them. Anko is surprised to see that each of her attacks was blocked without any difficulty, but before she can react, Naruto sends a clone towards her. She throws a kunai at him, and to her surprise, the clone does not dodge it, but lets her touch it. The clone of the blonde explodes in a great explosion, and given how close it was to the black-haired girl, she flies against a tree and crashes into it, being very hurt. Like the others, she is also taken out of the arena. Suddenly Naruto sees something unusual in the field and smiles. He puts away his weapons and sends a kunai against a wall. The weapon hits the wall and explodes, ending Kurenai, who was hiding doing a genjutsu and who was hiding in one. She got up a little sore and looked very surprised at the blonde. The 2 red-eyed men looked at each other for a few seconds until he smiled pleased. "I'm not affected by genjutsu," Naruto said very seriously. She tried to get up, but Naruto hit the ground and a stone hand appeared, grabbing the kunoichi and throwing her violently against one of the walls, leaving her out of combat. At that moment she realized that she was being surrounded by countless insects coming from Shino. She walked towards him, ignoring the insects that approached her. In a moment all the insects launched themselves against the blonde, eating his chakra. After a couple of minutes that seemed eternal, everyone saw, very surprised, how the insects began to fall completely full, and in the end, they had all absorbed all the chakra they could, but to the terror of several, Naruto did not look even the slightest bit tired. Shino didn't know how to react, and in that moment of confusion, the kitsune appeared in front of him and hit him, depriving him of his power. Two Ambus took the bodies of Kurenai and Shino to take them to the infirmary. Yamato walked up to the blonde, and making a series of seals, a large amount of trunks and trees began to come out. In a moment Naruto disappeared from his side, appearing from above the sand in midair. Then he made a series of seals with his hands, and then placing his hands as if he were going to whistle, a large dragon made of fire comes out at a terrifying speed towards Yamato, who barely has time to cover himself but is hit by the impact that leaves him out of combat. Kakashi approaches his former student and stares at him while uncovering his hidden eye. "I see you've gotten very strong," Kakashi said proudly. "Something?" Naruto said a little seriously. "We're going to fight, but I warn you it won't be easy," Kakashi said, preparing for battle. "Okay, by the way, did you know that Iro-Sennin is about to release the next novel?" Naruto said in a somewhat malicious tone. "What?" said Kakashi, very surprised. "Look, I have the first copy here, and you can't imagine how good it is," Naruto said, smiling grimly as his former master sweated and trembled with excitement. "Is it really that good?" Kakashi said anxiously. "In my opinion, it's the best of all the books," Naruto said, very pleased. That's good," said Kakashi, trying to maintain his composure. "It's a shame they're only going to sell it in 3 months. I guess I'll be the only lucky one to get my hands on this majestic work of art," Naruto said happily. "You want to fight once and for all?" Kakashi said, a little nervously. "Good," Naruto said as he placed the book on the floor before the gray-haired man's gaze. Naruto launched himself at Kakashi, who launched himself backwards. Naruto's speed was overwhelming, and he moved all over the place. Kakashi was so focused on dodging that he didn't realize he was near the book. He saw it for a moment, and just when he looked away, Naruto appeared above him and hit him in the neck. Then he gave him a large number of punches and kicks, leaving the masked man senseless. He ducked for a moment and put the book inside his former teacher's vest, while Guy clenched his fists at the shameful way in which his great rival had lost. Then Ten stepped forward and took out her scrolls. She placed them on the ground, and there was a small explosion. The brown-haired girl was shot into the air, and from there she sent a deadly rain of sharp weapons against the blonde. He only made a few seals and created a wall of air that blocked each weapon. Before his contender touched the ground, he made a series of seals and sent a whirlwind that trapped the girl, and which made some cuts on her. She fell to the ground very tired until she fainted. Again her body, as well as that of the other two men, is taken out of the sand by the Ambus. Lee had a smile on his face and Neji a very serious expression. The member of the Hyuga clan took a step forward and placed himself in a battle position. Naruto launches himself against him, but the wide-eyed man began his spin, which is destroyed when the blonde hits him full on with a Rasengan. The long-haired boy falls to the ground and launches himself against the kitsune. He quickly gives him a great combination of blows, closing every chakra point in the blonde's body, and moves away from him very pleased. Naruto smiles, and from one moment to the next, all his chakra points open again, and he launches himself against the astonished Neji, who is unable to defend himself when the sand ninja hits him in the face with a kick. His body is quickly removed, and finally it is Lee's turn, who looked like he was about to burst with emotion. "You don't know how long I've been waiting for this moment to come. After the Chunin exams that time, I've been waiting for the moment to face you," Lee said happily, while flames appeared in his eyes. "Same here, you beat me last time. I've trained really hard on my Taijutsu to be at your level, so I'll only use Taijutsu. I want to see how long I can last against the best Taijutsu specialist in Konoha," Naruto said, smiling. "Okay, let's get started," Lee said excitedly. At breakneck speed he launched himself at the blonde, kicking from below, which Naruto blocked by grabbing the black-haired man's leg and throwing him into the air. The man, who was unable to use ninjutsu and jinjutsu, leaned against a wall and, taking momentum, attacked his opponent again. This time he gave a spinning kick, but it was again stopped by the blonde. Lee took a couple of turns back, taking distance, clenched his fists even harder and ran around his opponent, looking for a place to attack. The villagers could only see the swarm left by the young man dressed in green and the blonde enclosed in the circle of the black-haired man's movement, and how the former bearer of the Kyuubi blocked each blow that came from various places. Lee stopped for a moment to catch his breath as he had exhausted all his energy and had not managed to land a single hit on his opponent. Naruto just limited himself to watching his opponent and how he recovered his energy. Lee began to expel a monstrous amount of chakra while the blonde got into an attack position. One by one he began to open door after door until he reached the sixth one, which he opened and started running at such a monster speed that he destroyed the ground wherever he went. Naruto didn't move, and this Lee sent a kick into the air that Naruto blocked with his hand. The impact was so strong that it sent out a large shock wave that spread a strong wind throughout the stadium, to the surprise of all the spectators. The black-haired man spun at a spectacular speed and landed a strong blow on the blonde's cheek, sending him flying. but he regained control and fell softly to the ground, only to see Lee in the air about to hit him, and turning on the ground he moved away from the place, jumping back a few times, avoiding the blow from the Jujutsu specialist who, when hitting the ground, left a large crater. Naruto saw danger in the distance and launched himself at him. Both began to throw punches and kicks that they blocked with great skill. The blonde jumped in the air, and Lee ran up the wall and reached him in the air, but the kitsune grabbed him by the arm and threw him with great force to the ground, leaving a large hole. Naruto fell on the ground, and from the hole came the young man dressed in green, doing a great series of turns in the air and falling behind the blonde. He was very surprised by the great strength of his opponent. Naruto launched himself towards him and gave him a strong kick that Lee blocked with his arm, but he could not avoid a blow that the Kyuubi exporter gave him with the palm of his hand on the chest. Both were engaged in a pitched battle where they tried to hit each other, but could not since the other blocked their attacks, and vice versa. Every attack that was launched by one of them and that was blocked by the other spread a shock wave and strong winds that spread throughout the stadium where everyone was amazed by the great spectacle and that battle that was very exciting. The ground around them was coming loose and the blows followed one after the other without giving mercy or rest to their rival. Most of the spectators were stunned by the battle. They did not dare to even blink so as not to miss the action. Nobody reacted because they were only focused on the battle. Naruto and Lee were in the middle of their confrontation almost at the same time. Both jumped back and launched themselves against their opponent to connect a great blow where they were concentrating a large amount of chakra. When both fists collided, a terrible explosion spread everywhere, leaving several cracks in the walls and a huge crater in the ground where the two young ninjas were still with their fists colliding with each other and their chakras colliding, raising small discharges around their fists. Both of them moved their fists away and launched a powerful kick which collided with their opponent, sending a new shock wave through the stadium. Naruto jumped in the air and spinning he kicked Lee in the chest, forcing him to back up. He gave him a strong punch to the face that the black-haired man counterattacked, but the blonde dodged the blow and launched a new one against Lee, sending him through the air. Naruto launched himself again against Lee and gave him a series of blows that he could not dodge, and each blow he threw was dodged or blocked by the former bearer of the Kyuubi. Lee was so upset and excited that he opened the seventh gate with which his strength and speed increased and he launched himself against the blonde. He was not far behind and adapted to the level of the Jujutsu specialist. In the arena neither of the two young ninjas could be seen, only the shock waves, the screams and the explosions of energy could be seen and felt throughout the state which was cracking. The rocks of the battle arena and the floor of it as well as the walls were falling to pieces before the great battle. Finally Naruto and Lee appeared with their hands intertwined, as if wanting to push the other in a great show of strength. Lee's look of determination and Naruto's for not giving up enveloped them. Naruto stepped back and gave a strong blow with both legs to the black-haired man, sending him through the air. Before Lee could react, Naruto appeared above him and with a strong blow given crossing both hands, sent him to the ground at such a high speed that when he fell, he raised a large wall of smoke that slowly disappeared. Lee got up visibly tired and very hurt. Lee was so focused on winning that he opened the last door, releasing a great torrent of chakra from within it, to the horror of his master who was going to interfere, but then saw Lee on the ground and Naruto behind him with his hand raised. The chakra stopped coming out of the black-haired man's body and he fell lying on the ground unconscious. He prevented him from opening the last door completely, but despite the fact that Lee was going to have great strength at that moment, he didn't want to fight against him. I don't think he was afraid of fighting him like that. Besides, despite the battle he doesn't look tired, and it seems that none of the blows he received from Lee hurt him. He prevented him from opening the door, not because he was afraid, but to prevent Lee from dying, since he would have won even then. I can't believe the great strength that boy has. Guy thought when he saw Naruto and how he was checking the black-haired boy's body to make sure he wasn't hurt. An Anbu appeared and took the body of the Jujutsu specialist to the infirmary, closely followed by Guy, who went to see his student. Little by little the spectators came out of their astonishment and the first thing they did was start applauding the blonde who looked at them very astonished. Hinata's face was completely red, as were countless girls who were very impressed by Naruto's great skill. The applause was heard throughout the stadium where everyone was very excited. Tsunade got up from her seat and looked at the council elders. "I guess I passed the test," Tsunade said very seriously. None of the elders could say anything, and Hiashi Hyuga had a rather peculiar smile on his face. "I can fight him," Sasuke said, falling in the middle of the arena, looking defiantly at the blonde. At that moment, all the spectators fell silent, watching their leaders to see what they thought about the matter. Chapter 7. The New Adventure. Chapter 7. Naruto vs Konoha 2. The leaders looked at each other, and then the old woman appeared on the balcony. "Okay, Sasuke Uchiha can fight Uzumaki Naruto," said the old woman very seriously. The people in the stand sat silently and watched intently as the competitors glared at each other defiantly. "I've been waiting for this moment since you defeated Pain and Madara 5 years ago," Sasuke said very seriously and smiling arrogantly. Wow, I didn't know you were so keen to lose to me, Naruto said, smiling calmly. You sound very confident. I have to admit that you've become very strong, but believe me, you'll never be better than me. Sasuke said in a somewhat arrogant tone of voice. If you say so, I'll believe you. Naruto said very calmly. Show me how strong you've become in these 5 years. Said Sasuke, getting into a battle stance. As you wish. Naruto said, getting into a battle stance. They stood for a few seconds looking at each other without making the slightest movement. The last of the Uchiha launched himself at the blonde, but he disappeared. The black-haired man activated his Sharingan looking everywhere and launched a large fireball towards one of the pillars, letting Naruto be seen still for having dodged the blow. No matter how fast you move, I can see you, Sasuke said, very pleased. Impressive, but it's one thing to see me and another to be able to move like that, Naruto said, disappearing. The black-haired man barely managed to evade a kick from the ground by jumping a little, but before he could react, Naruto jumped and kicked him square in the chest. The Uchiha flinched from the blow but quickly recovered. I see you don't move as fast as your eyes, Naruto said, a little seriously. Maybe, Sasuke said as he began to make some seals. Suddenly the black-haired man took out a large amount of threads that at an overwhelming speed trapped the blonde, preventing him from moving, and through these threads, flames came out that went directly to the Uzumaki. Before the flames touched him, Naruto concentrated a large amount of chakra on his body, as if it were a protective layer, and when the flames touched it they went out. From one moment to the next, he broke the threads and looked at Sasuke. The blonde launched himself at him, but the black-haired man jumped dodging the blow that when it hit the ground, left a gigantic crater by destroying the ground and some rocks that were there. She's stronger than Sakura. Sasuke thought, very surprised. From the stands everyone was breathing heavily and didn't even blink because of the battle. No one was thinking about anything, and they didn't dare to blink for fear of missing something. Sasuke hit the ground and started running at full speed against his opponent. In the middle of the road he began to create a Chidori. When he finished he threw it at Naruto who moved aside dodging it and then kneed him in the stomach which lifted him into the air. He recovered and doing a small somersault, fell behind the blonde who was staring at him. He launched himself at him again with a spinning kick that the blonde stopped with one hand, but he didn't count on Sasuke spinning in the air and using his leg as momentum he spun and attacked with the other hitting Naruto's head. Without letting him recover, Sasuke launched a large amount of fireballs which hit the blonde, but without causing serious damage, only burning part of his clothes. The Uzumaki looked annoyed at the Uchiha who began to run up the wall until he reached the highest part. Once there he closed his eyes and began to concentrate, and his cursed seal was activated. His skin was filled with marks which joined together, leaving the skin an almost black color. A very strange wing similar to a hand came out and another formed of snakes. Disappearing from where he was, he hit the blonde very hard, sending him very high, but he spun in the air, falling on a wall, and ran until he reached a higher place, more exactly to the balcony where he looked at Sasuke who was flying in front of him. You may be almost as fast as me and stronger, but I have more technique and I'm much better than you, Sasuke said, smiling. At what the black-haired man said, Naruto just smiled, knelt down while taking some weights out of his boots. Each one fell on the ground with such force that it left a very deep crater where they fell. He stood up and took out the same pair, but smaller, from the gloves, which also fell to the ground with great force. Hey, I learned this from Lee and it's very useful. Said Naruto standing up and stretching a little. You were moving at that speed with those things on, Sasuke said, very surprised. Of course, I'm not the best ninja in my village for nothing. Naruto said very seriously. From your village? You mean Sunagakur? He said, a little surprised. Of course, what did you expect from Konoha? Naruto said in a somewhat mocking tone. Well yes. Sasuke said a little confused. Do you really think I still belong to this village? Remember that Iro-Sennin had to get me out of here before I was killed. Naruto said, a little annoyed. You know it, Sasuke said a little sadly. Are you an idiot? Of course I know, he told me the same day I woke up after joining Kyuubi. Naruto said very seriously. Join Kyuubi? Said Sasuke very surprised. You didn't know, do you remember when that guy who claimed to be the true leader of Akatsuki hit me in the chest? At that moment he completely broke the seal that kept Kyuubi inside me. From that moment he was free, but he refused to let me die because he became fond of me. Anyway my soul or rather the soul of the old Naruto joined his. For some reason the soul that turned out to be stronger was Naruto's, and Kyuubi only became memories and some emotions. Said Naruto very seriously. You mean you're not the same as before? Sasuke said, very surprised. Well, more or less, I'm still the same, just a few things have changed, like now I'm much smarter than before, Naruto said proudly. You wouldn't even be smart if you were dead. Sasuke said mockingly. Hey, I've always been smart. Naruto said, very offended. If you say so. Sasuke said very seriously. Well, there's no point in talking to you. You're as stubborn as anyone, Naruto said in a somewhat mocking tone. Well, this thick-headed fool was chosen to be the next Hokage to replace Tsunade, Sasuke said, trying to anger the blonde. At what Sasuke said, everyone froze at Naruto's possible reaction. Really? Naruto said very surprised. That's right. Sasuke said, trying to make the blonde lose control. That's great. Naruto said quite calmly. That's all. Sasuke said, very confused. All of what? Said Naruto staring at the black-haired man. That's all you're going to say, how great, wasn't it your dream to become Hokage? Said Sasuke very annoyed. My dream, more than being Hokage, was for people to respect me. That was the only thing I wanted. Being Hokage was a dream that arose from that. Naruto said, a little seriously. What do you mean? Sasuke said very seriously. Well, you see, as you already know, the people of this village have hated me practically since I was born because the fourth Hokage sealed Kyuubi inside me. Since I can remember, I remember how everyone looked at me badly and treated me as if I were the worst garbage in the world, and I never knew why. As I was growing up, I saw how every time they talked about the fourth, they did it with admiration and respect, and I wanted to be treated like that. It was at that moment that the dream of being Hokage arose. Said Naruto very calmly. As the boy spoke, many people began to remember how every time they saw him they would step aside and avoid looking at him or crossing paths with him. Can you believe how stupid I was? I wanted to be like the bastard who ruined my life, Naruto said, a little seriously. You shouldn't talk about the fourth Hokage like that, Sasuke said, very annoyed, as were some people. And tell me, how am I supposed to talk about him? Let's see, not only was he unable to defeat Kyuubi alone, but he sealed him in the body of a newborn, thus destroying his life and condemning him to be the object of abuse and insults from the entire village. Furthermore, he was not only capable of doing it to someone else, but he was so unfortunate as to use his own son as a vessel. Said Naruto very annoyed. At that moment and with the blonde's comment, everyone was completely stunned, no one could react or say anything, even Sasuke was shocked. What's wrong? You're going to tell me you didn't know, Naruto said very calmly. Then, no, but how? Said Sasuke reacting. Easy, when I joined Kyuubi I realized that his chakra and mine are the same and the resemblance between the two is obvious. Said Naruto very calmly. I didn't know that, Sasuke said, a little sadly. Don't feel bad, I didn't know either until I united Kyuubi. It seems that the Konoha Council didn't want that to be known, but don't pay attention to that. I no longer have anything to do with this village. I already have everything I wanted and more in Suna. There I have the respect of the people. For the first time in my life I have a home. The funny thing is that it's not where I should have it. Said Naruto a little seriously. I don't know what to say, Sasuke said, very surprised and confused. Don't say anything and let's keep fighting. The sooner we finish this fight, the sooner I'll get out of here and return home. Every second I spend here is torture, Naruto said, very seriously. You think so? Sasuke said a little sadly. Come on, don't be sad, I really care about you all, it's only because of you that I'm encouraged to come to this place. Naruto said very sincerely. Really? Said Sasuke very seriously. Yeah, I had my doubts about coming here because I might get a little violent and completely destroy this village, Naruto said, smiling sinisterly. What? Said Sasuke a little scared. Come on, calm down, it was a joke, Naruto said, laughing a little. You and your stupid jokes, until when will you get serious? Said Sasuke smiling a little. Hey, come on, cheer up a little. With that grumpy face, it's no wonder you and Sakura haven't done anything yet. Naruto said very calmly. What did you say? Sasuke said, a little annoyed and quite embarrassed. What you heard, you should be a little more open and honest, that way you'll get along better with her, Naruto said very seriously. You didn't like her? Sasuke said, very surprised. You said it, I liked her, I fell out of love with her a long time ago. Naruto said very seriously. Of course, after all she was always in love with me, but which girl would fall in love with you? Said Sasuke trying to annoy the boy. At this comment Naruto remained silent for a few seconds and then burst out laughing along with Jiraiya, while Naruto's companions became upset and the girls blushed a lot. What are you laughing at? Sasuke said, very confused. You're welcome, I'll tell you later, Naruto said, recovering from his fit of laughter. Hey Sasuke, you've read my novels. Said Jiraiya next to Tsunade. Of course not. Said Sasuke very seriously. Too bad, because if you did, you would know that my last 3 books are based on things Naruto has done in Suna. Said Jiraiya a little seriously. What? Is that true? Said Sasuke looking at the blonde. Well, all I can tell you is that I have some really good friends there, Naruto said with a very satisfying smile. At that moment Naruto's companions blushed, remembering how they had been with him on more than one occasion. Even Temari remembered what happened between her and him on her birthday. On the other hand, Hinata felt like her world was shattering into pieces upon learning this. Come on Sasuke, it's not a big deal, after all, I'm not falling in love with either of them. To tell the truth, before leaving here I fell in love with someone, but what she and I are going to do is never going to happen. Naruto said a little sadly. Sakura, said Sasuke very seriously. No, someone else, but I'm not going to tell him that. Are you going to start attacking now? Or do I have to do it since I'm tired of talking so much? Naruto said, crossing his arms. At what Naruto said, Hinata felt that her soul returned to her body, although slightly, because now she had doubts about who that person was. At that moment Sasuke flew towards the blonde at full speed, but he disappeared and appeared behind Sasuke with a Rasengan in his hand and hit him in the back, sending him to the ground. The Uchiha recovered from the blow and rose at great speed to discover Naruto on the roof of the building, creating a series of seals. A large amount of ice blades formed in the air, heading at full speed to the black-haired man. Sasuke dodged them, but saw how ice spikes came out from all sides, which he barely managed to dodge. He was so focused on dodging the ice spikes that he didn't see the large blanket of snow that fell on the field, covering everything. The black-haired man shook off the snow that was on top of him and saw how the blonde fell on the soft ground. At that moment the blonde performed a great series of seals and a snow dragon came out and charged hard at the Uchiha, who could not dodge it. He fell in the snow, but saw how the dragon disappeared and how Naruto launched himself against him. He tried to cover himself, but at an unmatched speed, the blonde hit him from all sides, hurting him a lot. Sasuke was left lying in the snow face up and Naruto appeared above him and began to concentrate chakra. Sasuke opened his eyes and saw a super concentrated chakra sphere in the blonde's hand pointing at him. You give up or you die, Naruto said very seriously. I will never give up, Sasuke said, closing his eyes. As you wish, said Naruto, raising both hands, increasing the size of the sphere. At that moment Sasuke created a Chidori and pierced the blonde in the chest. He was surprised to see that he hadn't dodged the blow, but he was even more surprised to see that he exploded into a ball of smoke. What? Sasuke said, looking at his hand. Everyone in the stands was very surprised. The clone, said Sasuke very seriously. That's right, Naruto said, emerging from a shadow on the wall in front of him. Since when? Said Sasuke very annoyed. Since I fought the Ambus, I created several clones, I hid in the shadows, and then I made the others disappear, and only left one. The truth is I hoped it would be enough to defeat them all, but I got careless with you. Said Naruto, stretching due to the lack of physical activity. All this time and the battle against Lee, that was a clone, since when does he have so much power? Sasuke thought, very scared, as the blonde approached him. Chapter 8. A New Adventure. Chapter 8. Naruto vs Konoha 3. The blonde man slowly approached the black-haired man, who was very surprised and still hadn't reacted. You look surprised, Naruto said, smiling grimly. It's not possible, a clone is destroyed on contact and your clone was beaten up a lot. Said Sasuke very seriously. That's true, but you should already know that my clones are special. I perfected my clones and they only disappear when they receive a fatal blow or if I wish them to leave. Said Naruto, walking towards the Uchiha. Impressive, Sasuke said, standing up. I see you haven't decided to give up yet, Naruto said, somewhat disappointed. I never give up, Sasuke said with pride in his voice. You know, I'm tired of this, so I'll finish this fight quickly, Naruto said very seriously. Sasuke launched himself at the blonde and kicked and punched him several times, then he charged a lightning bolt and hit the Uzumaki, who took all the blows and hit a wall which broke due to the damage. The rocks fell on Naruto, burying him under the rubble. The black-haired man fell to his knees on the ground and saw how the rocks broke into pieces and Naruto came out of there shaking off the dust. It wasn't bad, but it didn't do anything to me, Naruto said, approaching the black-haired man while creating a Rasengan in each hand. Sasuke tried to get up, but before he could do so, Naruto appeared next to him with his right hand on the Uchiha's chest, hitting him with a Rasengan, sending him at great speed against one of the columns at the height of the spectators. The black-haired man crashed against the column, hurting himself a lot, but before falling Naruto reappeared in front of him, holding him with his free hand by the neck. He placed his other hand at the height of the chest of the last Sharingan user and hit him with his second Rasengan. The column shattered and cracked. Sasuke had a trickle of blood coming out of his mouth and was still being held by the blonde. He threw him to the sand, but the snow cushioned his fall. He approached him while creating a light green chakra sphere and knelt in front of the Uchiha. He grabbed him by the shirt and the black-haired man looked at him. He could barely stay conscious and could only see the eyes of his former friend, who looked at him in a chilling way. You surrender or you die, decide. Said Naruto very seriously. I'll never give up, Sasuke said with great difficulty. In the stands everyone was silent and Sakura watched in astonishment as her best friend was about to kill her now boyfriend. You know, you're going to die without achieving your goal, you're really stupid, Naruto said very seriously. What are you talking about? Sasuke said, trying to stay awake. The day we started Team 7 you said you had two goals, avenge the death of your family and revive your clan. If I kill you now the entire Uchiha clan will disappear forever, that's what you want. You did everything you could to kill Itachi, and together we managed to defeat Madara. You avenged your family, only to die here without fulfilling your main objective. You are a mediocre. Said Naruto very seriously. This is coming from someone who gave up on his dream. Said Sasuke, very annoyed. In my case it is different, my dream more than becoming Hokage was for people to respect me, to see me as someone not like they always looked at me with hatred and resentment. I remind you that I had to leave this place, because they decided that it was too dangerous, and they were going to kill me. It is obvious that in this village they will never accept me, and I cannot force them to accept me as Hokage by force. Besides, in Suna, people respect me, there they are a hero. Not like here where you will always be a monster, that is my excuse, yours is that you are afraid to open up to others. Said Naruto very seriously, drawing the attention of everyone present in the stadium. Naruto-kun. Thought Hinata, blushing and sad because of what the young man said. Okay, I give up. Sasuke said resignedly. That's good. Said Naruto, placing the chakra sphere into the Uchiha's body, who was very scared, just like the others, until they saw how his wounds healed, and he got up as if nothing had happened to him. The blonde began to laugh at the Uchiha's incomprehension until he realized what was happening. You were threatening me with a healing chakra sphere, Sasuke said, very annoyed. Yes. Naruto said with a laugh. You are said Sasuke, but he couldn't continue as he caught his opponent's laughter and started laughing. Tsunade stood up from her seat and looked at the council members. Sasuke Uchiha has given up, I guess we can now give Naruto the Chunin title, Tsunade said, a little seriously. The council members nodded and then a great deal of applause was heard throughout the stadium. The blonde watched as the people applauded and closed his eyes for a moment and walked away without giving it much importance. Sasuke followed him and caught up with him. You surprise me with how strong you are. Said Sasuke very seriously. A lot of training. Said Naruto very calmly. Hey, you really did do everything Jiraiya-sama said. Sasuke said a little blushing. Why are you asking that? Naruto said, a little intrigued. Well, Sakura and I haven't had anything yet and I want to know what I should do. Those situations aren't my style. Sasuke said, very embarrassed. Okay. Naruto said and began to say several things to the black-haired boy. After a couple of minutes they left the stadium where their companions were waiting for them. They talked a little, but since it was already very late they went to rest since early in the morning, the Suna ninjas would leave to return to their village. At that time, very far from Konoha, in some mountains that are very difficult to reach, there was a temple where there was a young woman with dark green hair, her eyes were like those of a snake, and her skin was quite pale. She must have been at least 18 or 19 years old, and she was dressed like a mist ninja that showed off her highly developed attributes. In front of her was a man with extremely white skin, yellow eyes, and a very strange black and white suit. So he's the Kyuubi's Jinchuriki, the young woman said, looking at the photo of Naruto she was holding. Indeed, Miss Sakuya, he is. Said the man with a rather sordid voice. What do you hope to gain from this information, Orochimaru? Sakuya said very seriously. What is mine, this body that I have now, although it lasted a long time, will not last any longer, and I want the body that I have desired for many years. You have the Jinchuriki and I have the Uchiha, we both win. Said Orochimaru smiling. Okay, I'm finally going to meet someone like me. Sakuya said very seriously. The next day in Konoha in the morning the group from Suna left for their village, and a few days later they arrived at their home. While far from there a large number of ninjas left for Konoha, guided by Orochimaru and their leader, a young woman whom they feared because she possessed a power that was incalculable and unmatched. Chapter 9. A New Adventure. Chapter 9 Friends. And Sunagakur the blonde woke up very slowly, he was bored and tired, he got out of bed, took a bath, changed his clothes, although it seemed that all the ones he wore now were the same, he went out towards the central building of the city, as he walked people saw him, greeted him and made signs of respect. I arrive at the building and enter where Ritid was signing many papers. Is he? Naruto said sarcastically. What do you think? Gaara said in the same way. You are? Naruto said smiling. Here Gaara said, searching for a scroll and handing it to the blonde. What is this? Naruto said, opening the scroll. It's your title as an elite jounin from Sunagakur, Gaara said, smiling. Excellent, finally. Said Naruto very happily. The boys are going to celebrate tonight, let's go, Gaara said, looking at the young man. Of course. Naruto said very happily. Then help me with these papers, Gaara said, smiling maliciously. What? Naruto said, his eyes wide open. Simple, you want a party, help me, Gaara said, pointing at a chair. Taking advantage, Naruto said, taking the chair and starting to read the papers. At that moment a ninja ran into the office looking very agitated. "Hazuki-sama, we have received reports that Konoha is being attacked," said the very agitated ninja, causing the two present to stare at him. "The alarm's going off, I want an assault group ready to leave immediately," Gaara said very seriously. "Looks like this is my first Jounin mission," Naruto said, a little worried. In less than half an hour, a large number of almost 500 sand ninjas left the village heading towards Konoha at full speed to help. While that was happening in Konoha there was a fierce battle, they didn't know who was attacking them because most of them didn't have gangs in front of them and those who did were from different villages, so it was not known for sure where they came from. What was clear was that they were very strong as they advanced like a tide, sweeping away everything in front of them. The great door gave way as a monstrous, immensely large snake burst through the door as if it were not there. Inside the village, Tsunade was leading the defenses that were slowly being crushed. But who is attacking us?" said Tsunade very annoyed. "You forget your old friend so quickly," said a very sinister voice, drawing the attention of the woman and some of those present. "Orochimaru," Tsunade said, seeing the ex-Anin standing next to the leader of the attacking ninjas. "It's impossible, I killed you," said Sasuke who appeared in front of the blonde Hokage. "Yes, but our dear friend Kabuto kindly gave me his body so I could live," said Orochimaru smiling maliciously. "This time I'm going to kill you," Sasuke said very furiously launching himself against the snake ninja, but a great discharge of chakra hit him sending him quickly against a wall which he went through hurting himself a lot. Sakura glared at the young woman who accompanied the snake ninja since she was the one who launched a ray from her hands directly at the Uchiha. "I've already weakened him, now grab him and do whatever you want with him," said Sakura getting off the snake and slowly approaching the Hokage while a group of Ambus protected her. "Where is Naruto Uzumaki, the Jinchuriki of the Kyuubi?" Sakura said, looking disinterestedly at the blonde. "Why are you looking for him?" Tsunade said, looking defiantly at the girl. "That's my business," Sakura said, showing little interest in the conversation. "He's not here. He left for Sunagakur years ago," Sakura said, looking at the green-haired girl. The young woman turned around while Orochimaru, who had collected Sasuke's body, waited for the young woman to return. "She's not here," Sakura said a little seriously. "Don't worry, he'll come in the meantime, why don't you let me destroy this place?" said Orochimaru smiling grimly. "Do whatever you want," Sakura said, sitting on the snake. Orochimaru got off the snake and approached the frightened Konoha ninjas. He made some seals and created a large fireball straight at them. Tsunade and Sakura hit the ground with great force, causing a large number of rocks to get in the way of the lethal attack, blocking it but producing a large explosion. When they got up they saw Orochimaru who was about to attack again, but a kunai stuck in his leg and when he tried to pull it out it exploded, tearing the limb apart. A new leg appeared and she looked at the place where the kunai came from, there she saw a large number of sand ninjas led by Naruto. As soon as Sakura saw him she got up from the snake and looked at him very interested. "Orochimaru, that thing never dies," Naruto said a little annoyed. "What do we do?" said a ninja at his side. "Take care of the others, the freak is mine," Naruto said, and they all disappeared. The kid soon appeared in front of the Sannin, staring at him. "It's been a while," Orochimaru said, smiling. "Mangekyo Sharingan," said Naruto closing his eyes and then opening them with the Jujutsu activated. "But how?" said Orochimaru very surprised. "That doesn't matter to you, Amaterasu," Naruto said, and a great wave of black flames reached the snake Sannin, completely charring him without leaving ashes. "See you later," Naruto said, then looked at the green-haired girl who was watching him from above the snake. He approached her slowly, but the young woman made no movement other than staring at him. "Who are you?" Naruto said, noticing the young woman's intense gaze. "Yo soy Sakura Shirakawa, la Jinchuriki de Hachibi. Daiho Sakura Mirando and Naruto. Why are you attacking the village?" Naruto said, looking at the girl. "It was Orochimaru's idea, my intention wasn't to harm anyone, I just wanted to see you," said Sakura very seriously. "Me?" said Naruto very surprised. "Yes, I could never meet anyone else like me. He told me there was someone else like me, so I came for you," said Sakura very happily. The others who saw this scene did not dare to speak or even interrupt the conversation between the two Jinchurikis. Hinata arrived at the place and saw Naruto talking to the unknown woman while the battle had ended. The girl's ninjas retreated and placed themselves in a defensive position behind the young woman. "What do you want?" Naruto said a little seriously. "Just talking," said Sakura looking at the blonde. "Okay, but get your men out of the village," Naruto said, a little seriously. She raised her hand and as quickly as they appeared her men disappeared and appeared outside the village, as did both Jinchurikis. "So you're also a Jinchuriki," Naruto said, trying to start a conversation. Yes, the leader of my clan captured my Biju and sealed it in me so that my clan would be the most powerful and feared in the village. However, my own family rejected me. I was always alone until I got tired and left the village. I made a group of renegade ninjas and well, a while ago Orochimaru looked for me and told me to help him look for a young man and that he was going to reunite me with someone like me," said Sakuya staring at the blonde. "I never had a family, I never knew who my mother was, and when I fused with my Biju, I found out who my father was, the fourth Hokage, the greatest ninja in the village sealed Kyuubi inside me to prevent it from destroying Konoha, but at the same time he condemned me, until I was 12 I was always alone enduring the stares and insults of people. At 16 my seal broke and the people of the village wanted to kill me, but my teacher took me to the sand village. Ara the Kazuki is also a Jinchuriki, but the demon was extracted from him, he received me there, and I am grateful to him," said Naruto very seriously. "I see that you're like me, with no attachment to humans. So, I don't think you'll have any problem joining me in my quest to conquer the world," Sakuya said, staring at the young man. "What?" Naruto said upon hearing the girl's comment. "Yes, humans treat us badly, they despise us, it's time for us to rule the world," Sakuya said very seriously. "I can't allow you to do this," Naruto said very seriously. "Why? You said yourself that they despised you and wanted to kill you, why protect them?" Sakuya said very confused. "I'm not interested in them, they're my friends whom I want to protect, those who helped me in one way or another, it's because of them that I can't let you do what you want," Naruto said, preparing for battle. "If that's what you wish, but I warn you, you're not the only one who fused with their Biju," Sakuya said, also getting into a fighting stance. Chapter 10. A New Adventure. Chapter 10. New Enemy, the 10th Biju. An aura of danger surrounded the environment, the gazes of all the ninjas and people in the area were fixed on the two Jinchurikis, they stared at each other and did not move. Naruto slowly removed the weights he had on his arms and legs, before the gaze of the green-haired woman who looked at him intensely. The tension in the atmosphere made it so that all the spectators had to make a superhuman effort to breathe. With a quick movement, Sakuya sent a powerful beam towards the blonde, who barely had time to dodge it. He fell a few meters away from the young woman, very impressed by the great force and speed of the attack that made a deep crater in the ground. "Your Biju may be the most powerful, but you only joined him 5 years ago. Mine and I joined over 12 years ago," Sakuya said, looking at the blonde with her cold, emotionless eyes. Both disappeared from the sight of all those present, the ninjas looked for them with their eyes, but nothing, the speed of both was unmatched, they only felt the sounds and the impacts of the blows. Naruto appeared falling at great speed, he spun in the air, and creating a Futen Raisen Shuriken he threw it, while making a series of seals, the attack rose to the sky, and then more than 100 copies of it were shot out, destroying much of the terrain, and causing great damage to the ground. Sakuya fell rolling due to one of the impacts, but recovering he launched a ray from his hands that turned into a great dragon that moved in the sky, more or less like Shenlong in DBZ, towards Naruto. The blonde began to spin on himself, producing a great hurricane of black fire. Both attacks collided with each other, sending out a shock wave that sent several ninjas flying and uprooted some trees near the place where the explanation occurred. Once the smoke cleared, everyone saw Naruto and Sakuya looking at each other in a challenging manner with smiles on their faces. The green aura of various shades began to surround the young woman, giving it the appearance of flames. Naruto was covered by the same one, but this one was red and black. One by one tails appeared on the two Jinchurikis, until each one ended up with tails as the case may be. Naruto's silhouette was the only thing visible, as the chakra surrounding him covered him like a second skin. The same thing happened to the snake girl. Naruto slammed the ground hard, causing it to split in two and a river of lava to flow out directly at the young woman. She just opened her mouth and threw a great torrent of water towards the lava, cooling it and turning it into stone. The young woman watched as Kyuubi Naruto put his hand into the ground and was then caught by the blonde's hand, who threw her against a mountain. She got up only to see how the blonde, with a monstrous leap, reached it as if it were nothing. "I see you've mastered all your power," Sakuya said in a sinister voice. "You too," Naruto said in an even more sinister voice. A powerful beam of energy came out of the mouths of both Jinchurikis, creating a light as blinding as the sun that sent powerful winds that reached Konoha and caused much havoc. Both used their maximum powers in the attack that exploded, creating an immense explosion that completely destroyed the great mountain, sending a great shock wave through the surroundings that created whirlwinds, and the sky was covered in black clouds from which lightning fell. Everyone was very surprised and scared by the monstrous battle they were seeing. They did not understand how there were two beings with such power. On the disappeared mountain, a large piece of rock broke and Naruto came out still in his demonic form. He looked at the surroundings and saw Sakuya in her unconscious human form. He approached her and saw how a black aura came out of her and she left at full speed. He returned to his original form and approached the unconscious young woman. She opened her eyes and saw the blonde in front of her. "Who are you?" Sakuya said, looking at the blonde, very confused. I am Naruto, the Jinchuriki of the Kyuubi. Naruto said, a little worried. You're just like me, a moment I spend with that thing. Sakuya said, very scared. What thing? Said Naruto, very worried. The monster that the Bai just sealed in a rock hundreds of years ago, Sakuya said very seriously. You mean Naraku? I couldn't think of another name. Said Naruto, staring at the young woman with great anxiety. Yes, that rock was the one the Akatsuki used to create the idol they used to extract the Baijas. Someone broke it, he appeared in front of me when I was going to the cave, we have to stop him before he recovers all his powers. I destroyed that rock 5 years ago, Naruto said, remembering the battle against Pain and Madara. 5 years, it's not possible. Said Sakuya, very scared. What's wrong? Naruto said, a little worried. For me, that was just a little while ago. What have I been doing all that time? Sakuya said, very worried. Now that I think about it, if I remember correctly, Naraku had the power to control the minds of humans, of course, that's it, now I understand everything, the origin of Akatsuki, why everyone wanted the power of the Baijas, it was all part of Naraku's plan to have him released, only a Jinchuriki could release him, and the other way was for their essences to be gathered in that rock, so that he would be free. He infected human minds and gave them power to do his job, making them believe that they could control the power of the Baijas, Madara, Pain and the guy who broke my seal, they all believed they were the leader of Akatsuki, but the real leader was Naraku. Said Naruto, very annoyed. And he's been in my body all this time while I was recovering all my powers, Sakuya said, looking at the blonde. Come. Said Naruto, taking the young woman's hand, and they went at full speed to Konoha. After a heated discussion that lasted for hours, Naruto and Sakuya explained what had happened to all the ninjas. They explained that this creature had taken over the young woman's body and that was why she had attacked Konoha. Once the whole problem was over, they began to plan what they were going to do with this new enemy, which the two Jinchurikis, having memories of the Baijas, knew how powerful it was. On the mountain where the faces of the Hokages were Naruto, Sakuya, and Naruto's companions from Konoha. What is that creature called Naraku? Sakura said very nervously. Thousands of years ago there were 10 Baijas, the 10th was a wild creature, thirsty for blood and destruction, we all stayed away from it, but we couldn't resist seeing how it destroyed everything in its path, we joined in a battle that lasted days, and with great effort we defeated it, we were very tired, but we sealed it in a rock inside a volcano, and hoped it would stay there for all eternity. Said Naruto, a little seriously. He's a creature that only desires destruction. He's been on the verge of killing several Baijas many times. Now that he's free, only God knows how we'll stop him, Sakuya said, a little worried. But Naruto-kun is very strong, I'm sure he'll make it. Hinata said without realizing it, causing the blonde to look at her with interest, causing her to blush a lot. Hinata, you're very kind, but I'm not sure I can do that, Naruto said, very seriously. Is he that powerful? Sakura said, very scared. You have no idea. Said Naruto very seriously. With this last comment everyone was very scared. Chapter 11. A new adventure. Chapter 11. The last battle of the Jinchurikis. On the mountain of the Hokage's faces Naruto and company remained in deadly silence, no one dared to say anything, not even Sakuya, who remained silent and with her gaze towards the ground. Don't worry, he may be very strong, but there's hope of defeating him, Naruto said, trying to encourage his friends. That's true, we beat her before and we can do it again, Sakuya said, a little animated. At that moment they both fell silent and looked in the same direction at the same time. What's wrong? Sakura said, seeing the serious expressions on both Jinchurikis' faces. He's coming, Sakuya said, a little scared. How long until he arrives? Said Sasuke, who had already recovered and was aware of the situation. In about an hour, by then he'll be in Konoha. Naruto said very seriously. I hope we can beat him, Sakuya said, a little scared. Don't worry, I won't let anything bad happen to you or any of my friends, Naruto said with a conviction that made the green-haired Jinchuriki and Hinata blush. At that moment Lee, who had remained calm, stood up suddenly. Yes, Naruto-kun's flame of youth burns like the flames of the sun, Lee said, causing everyone to look at him with a look of relief. You're very lively, Sakuya said, looking at the dark-haired man in the green suit, causing him to blush. What are we going to do? Said Sasuke very seriously. First, we have to prevent it from reaching here. We have to fight in an uninhabited area, Naruto said, a little thoughtfully. Alright, then we should prepare for combat, Sasuke said as Naruto did some hand positions. Before everyone's eyes, Naruto disappeared in a golden beam of light. He reached a valley and saw a huge black cloud heading towards Konoha. The cloud stopped near the blonde. You're either too brave or too stupid, said a voice from within the cloud, sounding extremely sinister and demonic. I prefer to think I'm brave, Naruto said defiantly. The gigantic cloud changed shape and transformed into a gigantic beast that fell in front of the blonde. Naruto was very surprised to see such a creature. Bull's head with gigantic horns, a muscular man's torso and with enormous and sharp claws in his hands, from the waist he had the body of a horse like a centaur, he had 10 snake tails and enormous black wings, his eyes were even redder than the blonde's, and his entire body was covered by a thick layer of black hair. At that moment in Konoha Sakuya made some seals with her hands, and a lightning bolt came out of her hand straight to the sky, where an image was formed showing Naruto and Naraku in the valley where they were. The image was seen by all the inhabitants of the village. Naruto-kun, thought Hinata when she saw the monster. It's more horrible than what I saw in Kyuubi's memories, Naruto thought, a little scared. You regret coming alone, right? Last time, even though you were the one who hurt me the most, it was thanks to the 9 of you fighting together that you defeated me. You alone won't hurt me much, Naraku said, smiling grimly. Well, we'll only know by fighting, Naruto said, removing the weights from his body. I can't play with this guy. If I'm careless, he'll kill me. It'll be all or nothing. Naruto thought, unleashing the power of his tails. A layer of black and red flames covered the Jinchuriki's body as the tails came out. Once the 9 tails had come out, you could still see Naruto's form through the flames. I see you want to fight then, Naraku said mockingly. I'm not going to let you reach Konoha, Naruto said, getting into a battle stance. Wow, you're very worried about protecting people who don't deserve it, who haven't treated you badly your whole life, they've tried to kill you, and yet you still want to fight me. Besides, I find it hard to believe that the fearsome Kyuubi, which was a bloodthirsty creature, wants to protect humans. Said Naraku smiling. I'm not Kyuubi, nor am I Naruto, despite what I wish they no longer exist, but something of them remains in me. From Naruto, the loyalty to his companions. The old Naruto had friends for whom he would give his life without hesitation. That remains in me. Kyuubi, despite everything evil that he was, fell in love with a boy and sacrificed himself so that he could continue living. They may already exist, but I have the best of both, and I'm going to use it to protect the people who are important to me, even if it costs me my life, and believe me, if I'm going to die I'll take you with me, but you won't get out of here alive. Said Naruto, launching himself against the gigantic monster. Naraku raised one of his hands and launched a large sphere of dark energy, and with great demonic power, the blonde dodged the attack, but the sphere hit the ground, creating a great explosion. The shock wave was felt in Konoha, which was quite far from the area. Naruto launched a beam of energy from his mouth, which did no harm to the 10-tailed beast. It turned its hand and, stretching it out, gave a strong slap to the blonde, sending him against a mountain at an incalculable speed. The mountain fell to pieces, and Naruto got up from the rubble very hurt. I create a Futen Raisin Shuriken and throw it at the beast, which received a direct hit but without any apparent damage. That's the best you can do, Naraku said, stretching out his hand. The young man tried to escape, but the dark beast's hand was faster. It lifted him into the clouds and slammed him into the ground with apocalyptic force. Where Naruto fell, there was a huge crater, and the blonde, still with his demonic form activated, was getting up, although very hurt. What a blow, Naruto said, coughing up some blood. Are you giving up? Naraku said, smiling. Dead first, Naruto said defiantly. But Naraku said as he gathered a large amount of evil energy in his mouth. The enormous beast launched a powerful black ray towards Naruto, who covered himself with his hands and a layer of chakra, an unimaginable explosion that created a tremor that reached Konoha. Naruto-kun. Said Hinata, very scared and about to faint while tears came out of her eyes. After the earthquake they saw that Naruto, still in his demonic form, got up very badly injured and got up with great effort. Well, I think I'm going to have to use that technique. I'll have to use it at some point. I just hope I do it right. Naruto thought as he stood up. Naraku saw how Naruto raised his hands and one of his tails. In these a sphere of fire was created. The other 8 tails joined in groups of 2 in the shape of an X, and in each group another sphere was formed, one of water, air, earth and electricity. The 10-tailed beast began to gather energy for a new beam more powerful than the previous one. The 5 spheres that Naruto had mixed them into a gigantic one of various colors in his right hand. 5 elements technique, final extinction, Naruto said, running at full speed against the beast. She launched her lightning, but the young man passed through it, receiving great damage, and the energy sphere impacted the monster's chest. A super explosion shook the entire area, creating hurricanes, earthquakes and waves of the sea near the place, reaching various parts of the world. Due to the technique in Konoha, they only saw a blinding brightness, followed by a great earthquake that did not last long. When it ended, it revealed the battle area completely deserted. There was only an immense crater that could fit some mountains, and that was very deep. In the image there was no trace of the 2 opponents, and that worried Naruto's friends. They, without wasting time, left the village towards the area to look for their partner. Final chapter. A new adventure. Chapter 12. The end of one adventure and the beginning of another. After at least 2 hours of a non-stop march to the battle site, the Konoha ninjas saw the not-so-small crater where their blonde friend's technique had impacted the 10-tailed beast. There wasn't a single tree in the place, just a huge, smoking crater, and there was no trace of their blonde friend. Hiba and Akamaru began searching for traces of Naruto's scent, while Hinata and Neji used their Byakugan to search the surroundings. Some Sunagaker ninjas appeared and helped in the search, but night fell, and they still hadn't found him. How is that possible? We've been searching for him for hours and nothing. How could he have disappeared so quickly like that? He was too badly hurt to have wandered so far away, Sasuke said, very annoyed. I wish I was wrong, but it's possible he perished in the explosion, Shino said thoughtfully. Don't say that, Naruto wouldn't die that easily, Sakura said, glaring at the insect tamer. He was badly injured, and the amount of chakra he used in that technique was astonishing. Look at the diameter of that explosion, and even more so the shockwave. It would be virtually impossible to escape something like that if you were in the center of it, Shino said seriously, and everyone else fell silent. No, Naruto-kun is alive, I know, he's not dead, I know. Said Hinata very seriously, making everyone see her. Hinata's right about that. Naruto-kun's flame of youth won't be extinguished that easily, Lee said, almost shouting. Someone's coming, Sakuya said, looking north with her snake-like eyes. Wow, I didn't think I'd find you around here. Looks like Karen-chan was right, said a man's voice approaching the group. Sujetsu, Sasuke said, recognizing the voice. Hey Sasuke, it's been a while since we've seen each other. Said the silver-haired man upon seeing them. What are you doing here? Sasuke said, looking at his former ally. Well, Karen sent me here. We found a friend of yours near our house and figured you were probably looking for him, Sujetsu said, smiling. What? They all said at the same time. Karen felt a great display of chakra and then an explosion that almost brought down our house. When I went out to see what was happening, I saw something crash into a mountain very quickly. I went to see and found your friend Naruto. He was very badly injured and Karen is taking care of him. She sent me to look for him. Said Sujetsu very calmly. He's alive, he's fine, Hinata said, very distressed. He was pretty battered, but he'll survive. I have it on very good authority that that kid is very resilient, well, even though he's not a kid anymore, Sujetsu said, smiling. Take us to him, Sasuke said as they all headed off to where their friend was. Hey Sujetsu. Said Sasuke looking at the silver-haired man. What's wrong? Sujetsu said, looking at his former partner. What were you doing with Karen? Sasuke said, a little intrigued. Well, you see, she and I got married. Sujetsu said a little blushing. Really? Said Sasuke very surprised. Well yes, we have a daughter. Sujetsu said very happily. But you guys look like you wanted to kill each other. Said Sasuke, remembering the constant fights between those two. Just so you know. Sujetsu said, smiling. What happened to Jugo? Said Sasuke quite curious. He's in a temple. He became a monk and he's so peaceful there that he hasn't had any more attacks, Sujetsu said, very seriously. So without saying anything else the group arrived at a cabin after several hours of traveling. They entered the house and saw a little 1-year-old girl sitting in a chair and a red-haired woman sitting in a chair in front of a bed where a man was lying. I see you found them, Karen said, looking at the newcomers. How's Naruto? Sasuke said, approaching the bed. There he saw Naruto lying in bed, he had nothing on his torso and had a wet towel on his forehead. He's a little unwell. He has several fractures all over his body, not to mention that his chakra reserves are almost non-existent. I don't even know how he's still alive, Karen said, getting up from her chair. Hinata was unable to get closer and saw everything destroyed from the door. The Jinchuriki of the 8 tails approached the blonde and placed both of her hands on his chest. What are you doing? Sakura said, looking at the green-haired girl. Helping him, you're a medical ninja, right? Help me. Sakuya said as her hand sent healing chakra into the young ninja's body. The pink-haired Kunoichi approached the young man and also began to heal him. Several minutes later they both moved away from the boy and were very exhausted and tired. How are you? Hinata said very worried. He's no longer damaged, but his chakra is almost depleted. We'll have to wait for him to recover on his own, Sakura said, very tired. We must take him to Konoha, Tsunade-sama will take care of him. Said Sasuke looking at the young blonde. The next morning the group returned to the Leaf Village with a blonde on a stretcher. Upon arrival all the villagers saw how Naruto was transported unconscious to the hospital. The next 5 days Naruto spent unconscious until he finally woke up. Good morning, Sleeping Beauty, said a voice next to the young man. Hiro Senin. Naruto said upon seeing the white-haired man. When are you going to stop calling me that? Jiraiya said a little annoyed. Maybe when you stop being one. Naruto said, laughing a little. Congratulations, you managed to do your 5-element technique, Jiraiya said, very impressed. Yes, but I almost killed myself doing it. Combining 5 elements is the craziest thing I've done as Naruto, or as Kyuubi. Fortunately I managed to do the 4th jutsu, and I escaped by the skin of my teeth, but I was so tired that I couldn't control it, and I crashed into a mountain some way from where I was. Said Naruto a little thoughtfully. You really hit yourself hard, you've been unconscious for almost a week, Jiraiya said, looking at his pupil. What happened to Sakuya? Naruto said a little worried. Well, the council, seeing Naraku's powers, accepted that she was being controlled by this demon and did nothing to her. Gaara accepted her and her men into the arena, although I was somewhat surprised. Said Jiraiya with a slightly strange face. What? Said Naruto looking at his teacher. I think she's dating Lee, Jiraiya said, in disbelief. But the big eyebrows. Naruto said, getting up from the bed in shock and then laughing like a maniac. Yeah, it seems he liked that kid's spirits. Said Jiraiya also laughing. I'm happy for him, even though that's a bit strange, Naruto said, still laughing, but at that moment there's a knock on the door. I'm leaving you, Jiraiya said, jumping out the window. The door opens letting Hinata in who, upon seeing the blonde awake, throws herself at him and hugs him, but then upon realizing what she was doing, she moves away from him blushing heavily, leaving the young man with a big red face on his brown cheeks. I'm glad it's over, you're feeling better Naruto-kun. Said Hinata blushing a lot. Thank you. Naruto said a little blushing. They both remained in an awkward silence and said nothing. The blonde looked at her closely, and when she felt his gaze, she looked at him and turned away. The blonde blushed a little, tried to say something, but regretted it and looked out the window. Tomorrow I'm going back to Suna. Said Naruto looking at the sky. Are you coming back to visit us? Hinata said, looking at him sadly. I'm not sure, you know I'm not very welcome here, Naruto said, his eyes looking a little sad. That's not true, ever since they found out you were the son of the 4th and saw you fight that creature to prevent it from destroying the village they've changed their minds. I recently heard several villagers talking about how they hope you recover so they can thank you for preventing that thing from killing us all. Hinata said with such conviction that she didn't even stutter. That's what bothers me, they don't respect me, but my father, my only wish was for them to recognize me as Naruto Uzumaki, not as the Jinchuriki of the Kyuubi, nor as the son of the 4th, but well, I guess there's no other way. Said Naruto a little annoyed. I see you Naruto-kun, Hinata said, playing with her fingers as her face reached a shade of red yet to be discovered by humanity. The blonde looked at her and for several minutes they both stared into each other's eyes, as if hypnotized by each other's, without knowing exactly why the Hyuga had taken enough courage to ask the Uzumaki a question, a doubt that had been eating away at her since the Chunin exams. Naruto-kun, is it true what Jiraiya-sama said, that you've had many girlfriends back in the arena? Hinata said, very worried about the answer. More or less, they've just been passing relationships, nothing serious, I only did it to try to forget someone who stole my heart and with whom I can't be, Naruto said, clenching his fists tightly. Who are you talking about? Hinata said, very nervous and a little anxious. Well, she is someone very important here in Konoha, but the reason why I can't be with her is because her father would never allow her to be with me. Also here in Konoha I am not very well received, and although no one would try to hurt me seeing my powers, I don't want to put her in danger, much less have people treat her badly because of me. Said Naruto looking out the window. The Hyuga's heart was beating out of control, and with a shaky step she approached where the young man was. I'm sure she'd be willing to endure anything for you, Hinata said, very nervous but still approaching him. Maybe, but I can't let her do that for me, Naruto said without looking at the young woman. What if she comes with you to Sunagakure? Hinata said, already standing next to the blonde. I don't think it's fair for him to abandon his family, his dreams, and his career for me. That wouldn't be fair, and I'll never allow anything bad to happen to you because of me. Naruto said, looking at the young woman with pearly eyes. Hinata was now really nervous, her beloved's red eyes gave off a warmth that made her feel like her face was turning redder and more intense than the Kyuubi's own chakra, her heart was beating so fast that it seemed like it was going to escape from her body. That girl is you Hinata-chan, after the Kyuubi seal was broken I heard you crying, and when I fused with the Kyuubi I realized many things that because I was an idiot and was looking the other way I didn't notice. Said Naruto getting up from the bed. The black-haired woman was amazed, she couldn't speak, and she listened attentively to every word he said. I should have realized it sooner, and ever since I realized that I couldn't get you out of my mind and heart. Knowing that you felt that way for me since we were kids was something that made me happy like you have no idea, but what tortures me the most is the fact that no matter what I do we won't be able to be together. Said Naruto standing next to the bed and looking at the Hyuga. I want to go with you Naruto-kun. Said Hinata looking at the young man. Would you really be willing to give up everything for me? Your family, your friends, your career, everything. That wouldn't be fair to you, Naruto said, placing one of his hands on her cheek. But I don't want to leave you, Hinata said, placing a hand on the red-eyed boy's cheek. Me neither, but your father would never accept you being with someone like me, and besides, your life is here far from me. Naruto said a little sadly. But, said Hinata, who could no longer hold back her desire to cry. Bright tears flowed down the face of the young black-haired woman, shattering the heart of the former Jinchuriki of the Kyuubi. He simply hugged the young woman, trying to calm her down. She clung to him as if she never wanted to let go, and they remained like that for several minutes. You better go, it's getting late, Naruto said sadly. She nodded, still hugging the young man, and without raising her face, she separated from him and left the door without saying goodbye and without looking back. Naruto could hear some of the young woman's sobs as she walked away. He clenched his hands so tightly that his nails dug into his hands, burying them and shedding a little blood. You think what you did was right, back in Sunagaku you only talked about her, and now you push her away like this. I don't even know why you told her you loved her just to leave her like this, get her hopes up and then destroy her, since when are you so cruel? Said Jiraiya from the window, looking at his student a little annoyed. I don't know why I told her, I just couldn't help it, I didn't think about it, it just happened. Do you think I'm very happy? I feel like the worst person in the world. I don't know how my father had to condemn me to this hell. If it weren't for having sealed Kyuubi in me, I would have had the chance to have a normal life, although in soon I feel fine. I can't be with the person I love, she belongs here, taking her away from all of this for me would be even crueler of me. Said Naruto, gritting his teeth. Maybe not everything is as you say. Jiraiya thought, looking at his student. Within a few hours Naruto had recovered and was discharged. Everyone heard the news, and that same day, to say goodbye to their friend who would leave for Suna the next day, they held a party. All of the blonde's friends in Konoha attended the party. The party began, and everyone was celebrating, but something that many noticed was the strange atmosphere that existed between Hinata and the young blonde. Everyone noticed the almost hidden glances they were giving each other and the sad expression they both had, without the blonde noticing. Someone stood right next to him and placed a hand on his shoulder, scaring the young man a little. Naruto was greatly surprised when he realized that his visitor was Hiashi Hyuga and that he was looking at him with a very serious face. May I speak with you for a moment in private? Hiashi said, staring at the blonde. Yes, of course, Hiashi-sama. Said Naruto, standing up from his chair. They both left the room and went to a garden where the man stopped and stared at the blonde. What's going on between you and my daughter Hinata? Said Hiashi very seriously. Nah, nothing, she and I are just friends. Naruto said, a little scared. Since this afternoon when I came back from the hospital where you were, she's been very quiet and sad. Did something happen between you two? Hiashi said, looking suspiciously at the young man. Tomorrow I'm leaving for Suna and I won't be coming back, so don't worry, I'm not going to get close to Hinata again. Calm down, you won't have to see her with me again. Naruto said, a little annoyed. Have I ever asked you to stay away from my daughter? Don't think I'm like most people. As far as I can remember, I've never forbidden her from getting close to you, Hiashi said, staring at the blonde. Well, you're not the leader of the Hyuga clan. I thought you, along with the council, wanted to kill me. Naruto said, a little confused. If you're referring to the decision to kill himself, this was made by the villagers. I decided that they were the ones who chose because I was going to condemn you to death just like that. Besides, your father and I were great friends, and I would never try to kill his son. Hiashi said very seriously. You and he were friends? Said Naruto, very surprised. Quite a bit. He left me something for you, here. Hiashi said as he took out a scroll and threw it to the blonde. What is it? Naruto said upon receiving the scroll. It's a message from your father. You have to open it and sign it with your blood to see it, Hiashi said, entering the party. If you hurt my daughter again, I'll kill you with my own hands, no matter how strong you are, he said, entering the building. Naruto didn't move and only had the scroll in his hands. He knew who his father was thanks to the memories of the Kyuubi, but he knew nothing about his mother. Maybe it was a photo, and he would finally see it, he would know who it was. He moved away a little and did his father's jutsu, appearing a little far from Konoha. Already there, he opened the scroll. Meanwhile at the party, Sakuya noticed Naruto's departure and did a jutsu and created a crystal sphere and saw the blonde. All the guests saw this and came closer to see even Hinata. There they saw how Naruto finished opening the scroll, which was completely blank. He bit his finger, and when the blood began to flow, he wrote his name as he did with the scroll that Jiraiya gave him for the contract with the toads. Once he finished writing the name, the letters disappeared. What happened? Naruto said, confused. White smoke began to rise from the scroll, and then there was an explosion. As the smoke dissipated, the figure of a man emerged from the smoke. He had blonde hair, a jounin suit along with a white cape with flames, and had blue eyes, a figure that Naruto recognized instantly. Father. Said Naruto when he saw the fourth Hokage in front of him. Hello, Naruto. Minato said, smiling warmly. I thought he was dead. Naruto said, looking doubtfully at the man in front of him. That's right, I'm just a part of my original self's consciousness. This is a message I left you before dying in the battle against Kyuubi to explain why I sealed it in you. Minato said, staring at his son. I understand, you're just a part of his chakra that reacts with my blood to make him react, Naruto said, a little intrigued. In other words, yes. Said Minato very seriously. Well, talk. I want to know what excuses you have for ruining my life like that. Naruto said, very annoyed. Naruto, I never thought the villagers would treat you that way. I imagined they would follow my request and treat you like a hero. I see I was wrong. Minato said quite sadly. Well, I don't know what you expected. Did you really imagine that they would treat well the one who had the demon that killed their families inside him? I can remember each and every one of the people that Kyuubi killed, the pleasure I felt at that moment. How did you expect them to treat me well? Said Naruto, annoyed. I thought they would understand that you are not the demon. I was certain that the people I saved would understand that thanks to you, the Kyuubi could never hurt them, that thanks to the fact that you kept it trapped in your body they would be safe. I guess I've always had the bad habit of believing that everyone is good. My whole life I spent believing that we are all good, and that's why I trusted people too much. Said Minato very sadly. Yeah, I think I know what you mean. Naruto said, sitting on the ground. I guess you inherited it from me. Minato said, smiling sadly. I think so. I would ask, why did you choose me out of all the babies in Konoha? But I think I know the answer. You didn't want to sacrifice anyone, and doing it with me was the only option you had. Naruto said, his fists clenched. Yes, although it wasn't my best decision, you suffered a lot because of it. Minato said very regretfully. I know, it's not fair, but you had no choice, Naruto said, looking at him with a small smile. Aren't you upset? Minato said, surprised. I am, but I understand why you did it. Maybe if I were in that same situation, I would do the same. We are more alike than I thought. I just wanted to know why you did it. That's all I wanted to know. Naruto said, standing up. You have the same heart as your mother, Minato said, smiling. What was she like? What happened to her? Naruto said, very intrigued. She was the most beautiful woman I've ever met. She had a very strong character. Even though she was in very poor health, she didn't give up. The birth was complicated, but she didn't die until you were born, and she hugged you. After that, she died. She was very stubborn. I think you got your character from her. Minato said, smiling. I see. Naruto said a little sadly. Here Minato said, throwing his son a necklace with a metal medallion. What is it? Naruto said, opening it. It's a picture of your mother and me, so you don't forget us, Minato said, disappearing. Goodbye, father, Naruto said, watching the blonde disappear. Take care of yourself, Minato said as he completely disappeared. The scroll burned and only dust remained. Naruto sat on the ground looking up at the sky. He opened the medallion and saw a woman with red hair and blue eyes with a big smile hugging her father. This must be your mom. Naruto said in a whisper. He sat on the floor for just a few more minutes with his eyes closed, then got up and headed toward the party. He arrived at the building and when he entered many people stared at him, but the blonde didn't notice, he just approached the leader of the Hyuga clan. Thank you, Naruto said, continuing to walk. Without further ado, Naruto left the building and began to walk through the village. It was already very late and the vast majority of all businesses were closed. The half-demon felt a presence behind him and turned around finding a young woman with eyes as wide and bright as the moon itself. Hello, Hinata, said Naruto smiling. Are you okay? Hinata said, a little worried. Yeah, to tell you the truth, I've never felt better. Naruto said, smiling. I saw what happened. Your father was a very good person and acted in good faith, Hinata said, blushing slightly as she saw the young man approaching her. Hinata, are you still willing to go with me to Suna? Naruto said, looking at the brunette. Of course. Said Hinata, blushing a lot. Then come with me. Said Naruto, taking her by the waist and bringing her closer to him. The Hyuga said nothing and just closed her eyes and opened her lips when she noticed his proximity. The next thing she felt was something colliding with her lips. It was his kissing her in a kiss full of pure tenderness. The couple in love continued kissing under the light of the moon and the stars until the next morning. The group of sand ninjas, Naruto and Hinata, along with Sakuya and her personal army, were at the gates of Konoha, about to leave for the sand village. Naruto, you better take good care of my daughter or I'll kill you, I swear, Hiashi said very seriously. Don't worry, I'll never let anything bad happen to you. Said Naruto, hugging her waist, making her blush. Well, take care of yourselves and come visit us, Tsunade said happily. We will. Naruto said smiling. Next time we see each other, I'm going to beat you, you idiot. Sasuke said very seriously. You can try, but I doubt it, Naruto said, turning around and starting to walk alongside the traveling group. In this way the group left Konoha heading to Sunagakur, where a new life would begin for everyone, where the dreams of many would finally come true. And let me know in the comments below if you guys want the next part. Also check out my other video that has been shown in left. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video please like and share this video. And have a fantastic day. Bye.